training. You see how we get on. If you feel or stuff that you need to then work on interactive sort of questions and answers, sessions to make it a lot more valuable to people. What we don't want is a nice sunny Saturday, you're stuck in here just listening to us around, we don't want that. So we'll try and get you as many answers, questions and answers, and anything you're not too sure about or anything you want to knuckle down on, we'll try and go through that as well. Okay? It's going to be open very short.
First and foremost, we would like to apologize for the delayed start. This has some technical issues with the Masjid. But Alhamdulillah, we just give you a taster of the sabr, the patience you have to endure during the Hajj journey. The Hajj, as we know, is one of the 5 pillars of Islam. It is incumbent upon every believing man and woman who is able to perform Hajj at least once in their lifetime. وَلِلَّهِ عَلَى النَّاسِ حِجُّ الْبَيْتِ مَنِ اسْتَطَاعَ إِلَيْهِ سَبِيلًا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions that indeed for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala it is necessary upon the people to perform Hajj of His blessed house. مَنِ اسْتَطَاعَ إِلَيْهِ سَبِيلًا, the one who can afford to, the one who has the financial capability, physical ability to go for Hajj and to return, then it is necessary for him to perform Hajj. Many fadail, virtues have been mentioned in the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam for the one who performs a Hajj. الحج المبرور ليس لَيْسَ لَهُ جَزَاءٌ إِلَّا الْجَنَّةِ. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam mentions that Al-Hajj al-Mabrur, an accepted Hajj, there is no reward for it except Jannah. When a person performs Hajj in the correct manner, in a way which was taught to us by Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and with sincerity, then the only recompense, the reward which can be given to such a person is Jannah. من حج لله فلم يرفث ولم يفسق رجع كيوم ولدته أمه. In the hadith, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam mentions that a person who performs Hajj for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we just ask, not with intention to show people, to show off that I've been for Hajj once, twice, 3 times, every year I go for Hajj. No, this is not his intention. His intention is only to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he does not commit any obscene act. وَلَمْ يَسُّقْ, he does not commit any sort of disobedience. Then, رَجَعَ كَيَوْمٍ وَلَدَتْهُ أُمُّهُ. When he returns home like the day his mother gave birth to him. Being free from sin. Like a newborn child, he has turned a new leaf in his book of life. His book of deeds are completely white of evil deeds and sins. So why is such a great reward been given by Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, or by mentioned by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for Al-Hajj? Scholars they explain that the journey of Hajj is a unique journey, a unique pilgrimage, a spiritual journey, a journey which is carried out with the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is a ashikana safar, a journey of love, in which a person practically demonstrates and expresses his love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The many different arkan, many different a'mal, actions of Hajj, they display a person's love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When a person he does the tawaf, he goes around the Kaaba. When a person he goes out into the fields of Arafat, Muzdalifah, Mina. When a person he sacrifices his animal, these are all signs that a person loves Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and he is submitting to Allah. Scholars they mention that this journey of Hajj is a remembrance of the life of Ibrahim alayhi salam. And what was so beloved in the life of Ibrahim alayhi salam is قَالَ لَهُ رَبُّهُ أَسْلِمْ قَالَ أَسْلَمْتُ لِرَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ. Whenever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tested him and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told him to submit, his answer was only one, that I submit to the Lord of all the worlds. So this journey of Hajj is a journey by which a person shows his submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He shows his love to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And scholars they also mention that other acts of ibadah, other acts of worship, they are forms of remembering Allah. But the journey of Hajj is a journey and an act of ibadah by which a person can reach Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But when a person practically goes out, he is as if he's journeying and he's going to Allah. Obviously, we can't see the blessed being of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this world, so we see the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Baytullah. A person goes around the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, just like a lover who is lost in the love of his beloved, he will go around the house of that beloved. He will sometimes touch this wall, he will sometimes kiss this part of the house. Similarly, we express our love to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And just how when a person is lost in his love and he goes out in search of his beloved, out of the city into the fields, we will also go into Arafat, the fields of Mina and Muzdalifah. And just how when a person he is so lost in love and he can't find his beloved, then only thing that he feels is that I must give my life. But obviously, as Muslims we know we can't give our lives, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us a substitute in the form of the animal sacrifice. And this is a sign that we are ready to sacrifice anything for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is the spirit by which a person should go for Hajj. If a person just goes for Hajj, it's an obligation, something I need to get off my shoulders, or the intention that I will be taking a family to be like a family holiday, unfortunately, then a person will not achieve anything. So we need to have this intention that I am performing Hajj in order to attain and gain the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in order to renew my iman, in order for me to turn a new leaf in my book of life. And 2 things a person needs to do in order for any action to be accepted. Number 1, it needs to have ikhlas, sincerity, and number 2, that action must be performed in accordance to the teachings of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The action must be in accordance to the Sunnah. And this is why we have such seminars wherein the Masail are taught. That how can a person perform his Hajj and perform this blessed journey to the best of his abilities? He should know what is right, what is wrong, because it will be a matter of great, it will be very unfortunate that the person, he spends so much money and he goes and because he's not aware of the Masail, he does something wrong because of which he spoils his Hajj. And when it comes to spending in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when a person is going for Hajj, the more a person spends, the more a person should feel happy. Mufti Asmar, he is narrated a hadith verse from the Musnad of Imam Hakim that Prophet Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was asked that how much reward is a person given for Hajj. And Prophet Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he said, بِقَدْرِ نَسَبِكَ وَنَفَقَتِكَ, that you are given the reward in accordance to the effort that you make, the sacrifice that you make. When a person goes for Hajj, will come across many stages in which he has to make salah. Things won't be going in accordance with his plan. But when a person makes that salah, his reward is increased. And number two, nafaqatik. The more a person spends, as long as this is not extravagant, the more a person spends in the journey of Hajj, the more he will reap reward. So we'll suffice on this, inshallah. The program will commence. Different speakers will be speaking and addressing the gathering. I request the brothers to sit with respect, have the adab and etiquettes of ilm in mind, and ponder upon the words of the speakers. If you have any questions, inshallah, there will be opportunity for question and answer as well.
You know, in the olden days, you take your animal with you, your hadi. You have to, you know, anchor out with it, or you have to like this. You can't move here, you can't move here. Time down. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم أما بعد. لا إله إلا الله. Requested to receive from the Mufti Al-Quran is kind enough to pretty much cover the introduction for me. First thing we do is ask Allah Ta'ala, or first we thank Allah Ta'ala that He's chosen us to be here today. This famous scholar, Ibn Jawzi, rahimahullah Ta'ala, and he writes something amazing. He goes that if you want to know what Allah thinks of you, if you want to know what status you have in Allah's eyes, then just look at what He's using for you, what He's using you for right now. Look at what He's using for you right now. So Allah Pak's chosen the people here to set in the Ta'lim of Hajj. We'll speak, inshallah, more about the virtues of Hajj briefly. But first thing we need to start off with is, as the brothers always remind me, myself as Hajj. So we wrote this not long ago that ask your heart, and you psychologically, you save up money. Many of you have been saving up money for a long time. Finally, because Hajj is not as cheap as it used to be, unless you're traveling through another door. Is it simply because you've got the money? Is it simply you're going to Hajj now because you're wealthy enough to do so? Or is that just a means that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has chosen you because your main objective should be, as I hope, to mend your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to mend your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And you know, this is a sunnah that doesn't actually start just now. I'm going to ask a few questions just to keep you on your toes, to see who's going first time, second time. But the sunnah of trying to mend our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala starts from the first being that came onto this earth. And that was Hazrat Adam alayhi salam. So the kitabs of tafsir, they actually write that Hazrat Adam alayhi salam performed Hajj 300 times and Umrah 700 times. So the Ka'batullah Sharif that is now in view on your screen, it's always had a sacred place. There's various discussions about who first built the Kaaba and its building, where the earth came from, was it there before? But inshallah, with time, we will touch upon those. So moving on, as you know, we're all here to fulfill the commandment of Allah Ta'ala, We've covered the lillah part, that hopefully we're doing this for none other than Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. Now we move on to you guys, okay? Who here is going on Hajj? Put your hand up. So I'd say around about 95% of the hall. Hands down. Who here has been on Hajj before? 1, 2, 3, okay. And who is going on Hajj for the first time? Yeah, so it pretty much reflects the demographics we've seen at all the other Hajj courses. About 80%, if not 90%, are first time Hajjis. So I said this, I think at one of the Black One seminars, that if I could, we would kiss you guys from head to toe. We would kiss you guys from head to toe. Why? Because Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam states, that first hadith is written in front of you, Al-Hujjaj wal-Ummar, the people that are going for Hajj and Umrah, Wafdullah, is a special delegation of Allah Ta'ala. In da'uhu ajabakum, that when you guys ask Allah, call upon Allah, ajabahum, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala responds to your call. Wa in istaghfaruhu ghafara lahum. And if they say, ask God His forgiveness, then because of your asking, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will forgive them. Again, without laboring the point, the kitabs, they mention that, we, mashallah, we go through, like, who's been through, like, a haze pattern, when somebody becomes a hafiz, we report in the hadith that he can take a minimum of 6 people to Jannah. So then, the children will say, I'm going to take a mom, my dad, So for a Haji that Haji Mabrur, some of the kitabs mention that they will be able to take 400 people from their family to Jannah. Now do you understand the value of you? Do you understand the weight of what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has not only put as a responsibility, but your worth in the eyes of Allah ta'ala? Hajj is special, and as I mentioned already, if we get time, maybe we'll discuss more narrations. And finally, just before we move on to the next slide, again, coming back to Adam alayhi salam, out of the 300 Hajj, when he did his first one, so he asked Allah Ta'ala, because man was learning, mankind was learning, said, okay, what is, Ya Allah, what's the reward for what I've just done? What I get, what's the purpose? So Allah Ta'ala says something really nice to him. He says that, your forgiveness was already written. Okay, your forgiveness, I was going to forgive you anyway. But anyone from amongst your progeny to the day of judgment, anyone from the son of Adam that comes and does what you have done, i.e. this Hajj of Baytullah Sharif and the blessed Haram, then inshallah I will forgive him too. So we ask Allah Ta'ala before we begin that He allows you to fulfill the rights of Hajj, inshallah, and accepts the little efforts that we have. The second hadith, just quickly mentioning, again, we like to sort of add a tanweer aspect. There's the masla masail, this is halal, this is haram. We'll have lots of discussions about that, inshallah. But the actual spirit behind Hajj, the wisdom behind Hajj, the purpose behind Hajj, often gets left out. So the hadith reported by Imam Tirmizi in his Ash-Shama'il al-Muhammadiyah, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, where he stated that Hajj Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, that Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam performed Hajj ala rahlin rathin, on an honest camel, the saddle that he put on the camel. There used to be a covering wa alayhi qatifa, so this was just a covering on top. And the Sahabi mentions that la tusabi arba'ata darahim, that this sheep that he was going to use, all the way on the journey of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wasallam, the value of it, it didn't equal 4 dirhams, which in modern day would equate to about £5. And what did the Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam say in this state of simplicity? He said, Allahumma ja'alhu hajjan la riya'a fihi wa la sum'a. That, Ya Allah, make this a hajj. How is our hajj? La riya'a fihi, but there's no showing off, wa la sum'a, there's no fame, there's no bragging. And that's the sort of mindset that we also need to have. Often it's the case of the discussions that we have. Oh, what's your package? And you could have paid 1,000 more, you could have got this, you could have got that. Okay, those discussions are now out the window. So, with that being said, we move on. I've missed some things that Mufti has already made. Alhamdulillah, let's just save a bit of time. What's the outline for the program today and tomorrow? So, in essence, we're going to introduce the Hajj, which is most of it's already been done. The Mufti Sahib and myself. Number two, we're going to discuss the types of Hajj. Then we've got Fazil Mama, mashallah, one of our veterans, trained elders, who will go through Umrah with you. Then we've got the young troops, Sohail by Asif, Dalal, inshallah, they will take you through Hajj. And at various points, I'll be checking in just to get some useful info. Then tomorrow, inshallah, towards the end, we'll have a ziyarah guide. And the question and answer, if it's something complicated, okay, about the adab, Fazil Mama reminded me that I remember last year with this course, there was Allah bless him, lovely individual, he an Arab that flown in from America. I think he was sitting somewhere here, we were upstairs. So he puts his hand up and he goes, Sheikh, you need to tell everybody in the Masjid, you need to tell them that, to do this and kiss your hand is a bid'ah. You need to tell them it's a bid'ah, yeah? So, that's, again, the adab of questions is something the ulama have written about. I tried to pull the brother afterwards to the side, explain to him what a bid'ah was, what it was. At the end of it, he was very lovely. He said, I'm really sorry, I've learned something new today. And I said, look, you're lucky, Allah Ta'ala sent you all the way from the Pacific to learn something new. But if you have a question, okay, ask your question. If you want to make a comment or try to make a point, there's a way of doing that, but perhaps not for everyone, because it'll end up taking a lot of time to clarify. Secondly, if you're not, I actually want you to be very open. Ask anything you want. You're completely entitled to say, what about this, what about that. But if I say, let's discuss it later, it probably means that A, we need to check something out, or B, it's going to be a long discussion. But please, by all means, don't be afraid to stick your hand up and just say this. And if it's something that we can deal with at the end, alhamdulillah, if it's something we can deal with there and then you'll do that, inshallah. So that's just the set advice when it comes to Q&A. And finally, I'm sure a lot of you have already been on so many Hajj programs. You guys are, put your hand up if you're from Bolton or near Bolton. Okay, put your hand up. See, who's travelled more than 1 hour to get here? Who's travelled more than 1 hour to get here? Put your hand up. Okay, alhamdulillah. Again, it's just proves what I'm about to say. There's lots of Hajj ta'aleems, alhamdulillah, in the northwest and the northeast. They have lots of people. Very fortunate when you go on Hajj, you'll see that some people, Allah, it's not their name, perhaps not their fault, and if it is, may Allah forgive them. They have absolutely no idea what's going on Hajj. They know that this is white cloth, and beyond that, doing their labbaik, there's not much. So you guys are blessed. I'm sure that you've been through a lot already, but this is why I put the comments to the right, that sometimes psychologically when we do something, we think, I've already done this, I've already read this. But the way of the elders and the ulama was at times they would go through something 50 times and they would write, for example, Imam Muzini, Imam Shafi'i, he says, I read one of my teachers' book 50 times and every time Allah Ta'ala opened up something new in my heart. So come with that mindset. Unfortunately, the programs towards the end of the Hajj season, they're not as well attended as the ones at the beginning. But even the new repetition, inshallah, will do you good, inshallah. And as the ulama say in the bottom line, al-ilm la yu'tika ba'dahu hatta tu'tiyahu kullak, that knowledge is very stingy. Knowledge won't give you even a tiny part of itself until you give everything you have to it. So with that in mind, I think there are some packs that will be handed out today. If not, we can send you links, inshallah. I'll, at the end of this presentation, there's some groups that you can join where you can share them. lots of Hajj guides out there. If you're looking for something concise to the point in English, the image to your left is Hazrat Maulana Salim Brad Sahib's Hafidhahullah Ta'ala, and inshallah when you get some time, you can read these in your own time. There's also other kitabs, Fazail Hajj of Hazrat Maulana Muhammad Zakariyya Sahib, Sheikh Hadith Sahib, Rahmatullah alayhi. And the rest of the column on the left, the slides type practical, this is the thing that we've spent so much time. You go to any Hajj group, Sohail will back me up on this. Flights, discussion about flights, documents, what type of cards to take, clothing, packing, okay? That takes up 90% of the chat, okay? More so the women's groups, perhaps, than the male group, but I'm told that's because they do all the packing. So we're not really, we don't mind sharing some tips today, but hopefully you've already been through all that, everybody has an idea. But what I will say is that often the questions, the discussions of a society, they reflect the state of mind and the state of heart that that individual society is in. I was reading another book recently, Mukhtasar Minhaj al-Qasidin of Ibn Qudama al-Maqdisi rahimahullah. You know, I just looked at the book and when he talks about what to take in Safar, he mentions in one sentence, he goes, Biswak, because it's Sunnah, a comb, again Sunnah, a mirror, just to look at yourself, and Surma, the thing, the little Surma Dani, they call it. So when I read that, I thought, yeah, like this guy, he's written books, okay? When it came to what to take for Hajj, he just sorted it in one line. Well, it's really the opposite, okay? We'll talk about this will take up 90% of our time. So just be conscious of that, okay? That the practical side is important, of course it's important. All this, make sure you've got it on order. But what's even more important is this, the next slide, which is the spiritual preparation for Hajj. And your spiritual preparation for Hajj doesn't start when you board the flight. To be honest, it doesn't even start today. It started the day you thought, you know what? I've got the intention to go for Hajj. And many of you may have made this last year. We made so many amazing Hajj. Allah Pak's blessed this world with so many special people. So hereby was mentioning Barahamon. When it comes to your Qurbanis, yes, your Qurbanis. So hereby mentioned that one Haji message this week that the Prophet ﷺ, he sacrificed with his own hands 63 camels. The cost of one camel is how much? 600 according to the discounted Suhail price, Osama, yeah? 600 pounds. So there was a Haji that messaged Suhail, told me, I was so happy. She paid for 63 plus camels. Okay? That's nearly 40,000 pounds. Okay, on Qurbani's account. We're so blessed to have these people in the Ummah, inshallah. So again, what I'm trying to say is that spiritual, how did this person how were they able to think of that, get the money together, put the hand in the pocket, and make that move? Again, spiritual development. So if you're not already, first we ask Allah Ta'ala to offer 2 rakats. I didn't want to embarrass anyone in case they didn't have wudu, but in other programs I've actually stopped here. I've told everybody to get up and just pray 2 rakats, whether they've done it or not done it. Okay? Again, so often these are the things that actually are most important that we forget. We ask Allah Ta'ala for forgiveness, we ask Allah Ta'ala to make ease in our suffer. We ask Allah Ta'ala to forgive us for our previous sins. We ask Allah Ta'ala not to allow our sins to become barriers for what we're about to do. Moving on, also part of spiritual development, resolve your outstanding differences, ill feelings, disputes, seek forgiveness. Now again, one thing that you see me mentioning with other brothers, Hajj is amazing. Hajj, if you look at it deep enough, if you get to it, it teaches you so much about life in general, principles in life, okay? Now, Allah Ta'ala, He gives you so many opportunities in the year where, for example, there'll be a special night. It's an opportunity to, because we're all human beings, let's be honest, who's never fallen out with anyone? Nobody, okay? So these are opportunities for us to say, look, we're going for Hajj. When I come back, I want it to go, no, now I want it to be a clean slate and ask for the forgiveness, not as a ritual, okay? Genuinely. And often what happens, I'll be blunt, see the people that we've had, in Punjabi we call it a panga, okay, a panga. People that we've had a panga with here, they're the ones that we avoid, and the people that we're already in good terms with, they're the ones that will go and say, I'm going for Hajj. Okay, these the opposite. You have to force yourself to go and spend time with the people that you have to make it up with. Silman qata'ak. Moving on, paying off your debts or having the payment method fixed. Again, another masala people ask, is it okay for me to take a loan to go on Hajj? Okay, we'll answer that later. But just the concept of Qarz, which is so far away, so far away from how Muslims should act in the new world, because we've grown up and we're in a debt commercialized society, so we end up just borrowing off them antiques. We really don't give a toss. We borrowed some money, it doesn't weigh heavily on us. But how were the elders of the past? Imam al-Shafi'i rahmatullahi alayhi is mentioned about how one of the four great imams. These are people that billions of people are still benefiting from their knowledge today and will continue to do so. He once missed class, and he was a type of student where, for these people, knowledge was everything. So this Ustad sent somebody to his home, to Imam Shafi'i, to find out, is he alive? What's happened to him? So they knocked on the door, and Imam Shafi'i, as a young man, rahimahullah, he says, I can't come outside. And the person says, why? You missed class. And Imam Shafi'i says that today I owed a debt to somebody. They came to me asking for the money, and I had nothing in my house except the clothes that I wear, so I took them off and gave it to him. Do you understand when we owe people money, okay, how important it is? And again, back to that point about Hajj teaching us things that we should do or not do. Make sure the wealth from Hajj is from halal. Moving on. Again, it's mentioned by Ibn Rajab al-Hanbali in his kitab, Al-Ta'if al-Ma'arif, that there was a person, Mata Rajulun fi tariqi Makkah, there was a person who went for Hajj, but he died on the way to Makkah al-Mukarramah. Okay? It can happen, it might happen to somebody here. Okay? There's even some virtues about dying on the way to. I remember once when Mawlid Ilyas is here, so wherever we left to walk from Arafat to Muzdalifah, I just had the book inside my hand, and I was mentioning to one of the Mawlanas that there was a Sahabi that passed away during Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam's Hajj. He actually passed away. So at the time Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he said something amazing. There's a hadith that's reported that the Haji that passes away in the state of Ihram, okay, he will get up on the day of judgment saying Labbaik Allahumma Labbaik. So again, it's not something we ask for, but if it happens, okay, there is special virtue. Coming back to this person, okay, how does it relate to your wealth being pure? So it's mentioned in the Rajab that he passed away on the way to Hajj. They had to bury him there, but the person who's the Tabristan, the grave digger, okay, be calm were there. Be calm were there, but they forgot there, for whatever reason, it must have been Asif's day. He forgot one of the tools inside the grave. Back in those days, tools were worth a lot more. If you didn't have your tools or your axe, okay, then you could work. So the ulama gave ijazat, said, you know what, to get your axe, you can dig up the grave, because it was a valuable item. So when they opened up the grave for that man that passed away, he seen that his axe was wedged between the head and the neck of this person, this mayyit. So he just covered it up, and he was so traumatized that he went to visit. وَرَجَعُوا إِلَىٰ أَهْلِهِ فَسَأَلُوهُ. He went to his wife, and he said, look, I went back into your husband's grave, and this is what I seen. And what did the people in his home say? They said, okay, Sahib Rajulan, that this man, okay, he took wealth that wasn't belonging to him. And from that, he used to do Hajj, and then he would go for jihad. And this is what the outcome Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave. So again, doing Hajj with money, try and make sure that the money is pure. These are guidelines that we should be going through. And I'm sure, inshallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed you all with halal earnings, and you continue to do so, okay? memorize some du'as. I've actually got a slide with Fazal Mama's du'as in this presentation at the end. When you're there, it's very hard in the heat to it's hard to think straight, let alone memorize something. Unless, of course, these boys give you a break and you sit down on the floor. That's nice, but most people don't have that. So just put your effort in, put your time in right now. Start writing them down. Okay, people will ask you for du'as. I'm asking you today, make a note of it. Okay, stick it inside your phone. And finally, make sure your dependents are cared for. I say dependents are catered for at the bottom. Yeah, that's just being nice. Again, we've kind of lost. See, Deen's very practical. It sometimes shows the tough side of Deen because we're just living in a society where certain emotional states have been exaggerated, that we're even affected by it. So, as it was started with Tisha Mir started on the meal at 6 o'clock, he probably would have mentioned it, but still it will be repetition if we don't. So when Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam went for Hajj, he left Medina Munawwara. When he got to Zul Hulayfa, which is the miqat, as you know, Medina Munawwara, or just before, part of that delegation of Hajj was the wife of Hazrat Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala anhu. The wife, Hazrat Abu Bakr had more than one wife. One is the famous mother of Hazrat Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha. But this one was Asma bint Umais. Okay, Asma bint Umais. She was the stepmom of Hazrat Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha. She was actually pregnant at the time. Okay? Like, could you imagine being pregnant and being on Hajj? And she says, فَإِنِّي مُتِمٌّ, that my 9 months were up. So, on the way to Hajj, before they left the miqat of Zul Hulayfa, Asma bint Umais radiallahu ta'ala anha, she gives birth to Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr. So, with a newborn baby giving birth, she carries on through the Hajj process. Why am I saying this? Because, again, Hajj is not something, as Mufti Lukman Sahib said, it's an obligation. When we say obligation, we don't mean our procedure or namaz obligation, we read it afterwards, it's something that should weigh heavily upon us when we get that first paycheck, and these are the discussions that you should be having inside your household. Now, moving on, alhamdulillah, we're finally coming to the Fazl Mama's part. Not long left now. Give you a break from myself. There's 3 types of Hajj. One other thing, mashallah, accommodation. Good boy, Khalid Hajj. They didn't have a mouse clicker, so I don't want to stand in front of you. I thought just to get that from the house. Zakariyya. So one of the other things before you go for Hajj, as part of the preparation, is have a good idea which type of Hajj you are doing. Okay. 3 types of Hajj. The brothers will go through them: Qiran, Tamattu, Ifrad. You would have already heard this. What are the differences in terms of what you do? They did this chart. We're going to touch upon them later. But the reason why I put Hajj Tamattu is majority of people, especially for first-time Hajjis, okay, they will go and perform Umrah first, then they will come out of the state of Ihram. And then they'll wait for the Hajj day. So majority of people will follow Hajj Tamattu. Even in the 13th today, that's what we stuck to. But if your dates match and you're prepared, you know what you're doing, then Hajj Taran is also an option. And if you get your lastminute.com, or perhaps you're a woman that has health issues, you can do Hajj Ifrad, and you could have a discussion with ulama if you need to about what's right for you. Okay. What I would say is, and I made this point, I think it's quite nice since we're in this part of the neck of the woods. We always say that why is there so many differences in the Ummah? Yeah? Why is there any? Why is it we're falling out with each other as positions of faith? Half of them, let's follow Saudi, let's follow Morocco. Yeah, everybody get what I'm saying? We always have these discussions. Why does this masjid not get along with that masjid? Now, the beauty of differences, we sometimes, and I say this to my elders and ulama, perhaps we need to point out that where differences actually helps the ummah. So Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam performed Hajj, okay? The ulama dispute whether he was a qari, or whether he was a mutamatti, or whether he was a mufrid. Okay, the ulama have a disagreement, they make arguments within Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. That's the first type of Hajj, second type of Hajj, the third type of Hajj. And the summary is this, is because there may be various interpretations of that and arguments, that whatever Hajj you do, okay, inshallah you'll still get reward for following the sunnah of the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, because there's an argument that he did Hajj too. That is the benefit of differences of opinion in the Ummah. And finally, what type of Hajj is more virtuous? According to the majority of earlier Hanafi scholars, most of the fiqh positions today will be based on the Hanafi madhab. Hajj Qiran was the most virtuous. Why? Because what Mufti Sahib said, there's more effort, you have to stay ihram longer, there's double penalties if you make a mistake, okay? So the earlier jurists would say that Hajj Qiran is the most virtuous. However, and this is one thing that again you'll have to think about, the latter scholars, when they see the state of the Ummah, to see that in the state of Ihram people were messing around, performing mistakes, committing sins, they said, you know what, if you're going to destroy your reward by being in Ihram longer, your action is more virtuous for you to be at the Tamattu. It's more virtuous for you to do Hajj Tamattu. So just have a think of that. So that's my introduction part done, alhamdulillah. So Allah is, again, there's some du'as in here, inshallah there'll be some posted. It is a dua book that will be given at some point, inshallah. So Allahumma la sahla illa ma ja'altahu sahla. We pray that it's a masnoon dua reported by Ibn Hibban rahimahullah, that Ya Allah, there is no ease except what you make easy. وَمَنْ تَجْعَلَ الْحَزْنَ إِذَا شِئْتَ سَهْلًا. That if you will, you can make the difficult easy. So pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes this course easy, that rewards the organizers, makes it easy for you to participate, keeps you awake inshallah. And just before I go on to Umrah, was it want to do the Ihram now? Practical Ihram now? Practical only practical inshallah.
You want to explain that then
Yeah, बिल्कुल.
obviously the lady told me to
बस मामे ये हम
before I put my ihram on, you've got with me your hand luggage, your pair of slippers, your ihram, your money belt, your valuables, your medicine, keep it in your hand luggage. When you go to the airport, don't put on your ihram until you get your boarding pass. Because if your flight gets late, or if it gets cancelled, or if it gets delayed, then you'll be in your ihram for hours and so on. So until you actually get your boarding pass, you know what time your flight is going to take off, then you can put your ihram on. Okay? Now I've done it quite a lot of times. I don't put my ihram on. I've got everything in my hand luggage, the valuables. Also take passport copies, your visa copies with you. Also have it on your phone, so whichever makes it easier for you. Because sometimes I prefer paper copies because it's always in your hands. I've had youngsters coming back to me since last year and said, Uncle, Jazakallah for telling us to take paper copies of visa. It was very handy for us rather than going through the phones and everything. If you lose your phone or you crack your screen, then you're going to have problems. So make sure that ladies have their own with them at all times, the Hajj visa, and also you have your own app with you as well at all times. Now, Alhamdulillah, we are all preparing at the airport. Now, you have to put on your ihram before you reach the boundary of Makkah. So before you reach the boundary of Makkah, you have to reach the state of ihram. Now, how do you put on ihram? It's entirely up to you. I normally go to the toilet at the airport and take all my ihram, hand luggage, everything inside. But before you put on your ihram, don't forget to do your wudu first, because it will be uncomfortable to do your wudu afterwards, because you have to lift your legs up and you might even show your private parts sometimes. So do your wudu before you put on your ihram. Now, as Hazrat mentioned, you've got lungi type, which is a full round circle ihram you will get. Okay, I prefer the two pieces one, so I will show you how to put it on. The lungi one, you don't need to spread your legs. If you've got these two pieces of ihram, you just fold. You can put it two or three ways. Some people they actually hold it like this, yeah, and then keep folding it and then roll it up. But when you do that, make sure your legs are spread. If your legs are not spread, then you'll be walking like this and you'll be very uncomfortable. Okay? The way I do it is I find it very comfortable. You spread your legs. Be careful, brothers. This corner has to be at the top. Don't leave it inside because if the ihram gets loose, well, after you put it on, slowly this piece is going to come off and then you're going to expose your body. So every little tip we give you, brother, just concentrate, please. Spread your legs, put this at the top. Hold this tight, yeah? When you hold this tight, put your hand on so it doesn't go loose. This is the way I do it, but it's up to you, there's three ways of doing it. Now, every fold you do, 6 inches, go 1 or 2 inches above, yeah? Go again, another fold. Now, as you can see at the bottom, it's more or less level, so when you go to the toilet, at least it's not dragging on the floor, and then you don't know if somebody's urinated in the toilet. Non-Muslim people, and at least napak, and obviously you're going to spoil your ihram as well. From here, what all you do, you just keep on folding it until you feel comfortable. The more you fold it, the more tighter it will go. Yes? And then, in your money belt, make sure you've got some money, your miswak, as Moana mentioned, and also put some miswak, money belt, and put some plasters in. Because sometimes when you walk in your flip flops, you might scrape your skin and you might start bleeding. I always have plasters as well in my money belt as well. And the other thing is, most important thing, when you put on your bottom piece, make sure, we were just talking about that before the start of the program, you will see loads of people there who hasn't actually learned how to put on the ihram or what are the etiquettes of ihram. You will see people putting their ihram on below the belly button. The first is that you have to have your ihram 4 fingers above your belly button. Yeah? So you have to cover your back, your belly button. A lot of people, they don't know, they will even put, I've seen people with t-shirt on, with ihram on, and with shoes on as well, which is not permissible in the Hanafi Masjid. So everything you have, even underwear, we have to take off everything. Only 2 pieces of cloth that we wear. After this, it depends on your money belt, whatever you have. I prefer this one because the belt is mashallah narrow and you can hide it. Yeah? And then you can actually just fold it backwards. Yes? And then even the belt is hidden. The reason for this is you have many big pockets when you go in belt in the setan and you can't even see it. So at least your money and everything is safeguarded when you go. Now this top part is very, very important. One of the youngsters used to come to Al-Falam, also we did a program 2 weeks ago. He approached me 2 days ago in Al-Falam, Rahman Masjid, and said, Al-Sukha Masjid, and said, I need to see you. I said, why? He said, show me how to put on the top piece, because he said, I need to know again how you put on the top piece. This is very, very important, brothers. Some of you may have your mother or your sister or your niece with you, and if you actually, people don't like sharam and haya, don't like exposing their underarms. So the easiest and best way is the top piece, depending whether you're righty or lefty. What you do is you put this piece right 3/4 of your right hand side on the right, so and then the left hand just corner, just put it here. Okay? Then this one, don't hold it like this. Make sure the whole of the ihram is on your arm. And then grab hold of this corner, okay? No, sorry, this corner. Grab hold of this corner and throw it right at the back. Yeah? When you throw it right at the back, just tuck it behind your back. So then you are well secured, your body is secure. What you don't bear in mind is when you put your hand luggage in the plane, be careful all your underarms and everything are exposed. You can ask the air hostesses or whatever, or any brothers who are not wearing the ihram, they can actually put it in. Okay? Now, what you have to do, you have to make intention. At all the airports, you've got massages now. If you don't want to go to the masajid, you've got your wudu, you've got everything. You've got your Qibla compass, face for the Qibla. If it's time for 2 rakat salah, nafil salah, you can pay 2 rakat nafil salah. For the Hanafi Mazhab, it is between Asr and Maghrib, you don't have to pray your salah. But if it's between Fajr and Ishraq, you don't have to pray your 2 rakat nafil namaz. Now, let's say we finish our 2 rakat nafil namaz, depending on the time, facing towards Qibla. You don't have to keep the topi on, you can keep it on as well. I normally put my ihram on my head. Yeah? So you can keep the topi on or put on your ihram, and then you finish your 2 rakats. So in the first rakat, you say, Qul ya ayyuhal kafirun, second rakat, Qul huwallah. Some people, if they don't know these 2 surahs, then you can play any other surahs like you wish to. Okay? Then you go in at-tahiyat, you do your at-tahiyat, you do the Ibrahim, and then your dua, and then Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Straight away, you take your topi off or your ihram or you put on your head. Until you finish your umrah, you don't put your topi on and you don't cover your head. Okay? Now, you make intention. Intention is, Ya Allah, I'm making intention to perform umrah. Please accept it for me and make it easy for me. Ya Allah, मैं उम्रे के ihram की नियत करता हूँ या करती हूँ, मेरे लिए आसान फरमा, कबूल फरमा. ये, and then you look on your right hand shoulder and say labbaik 3 times. Those brothers who doesn't know the labbaik, you've got labbaik necklaces there, you can take it to their home. Salatul salam, 7 big tasbih, everything they have on there is fi sabilillah for me, so you can all take it and make dua for us as well, inshallah. And you play labbaik 3 times, looking at the right hand shoulder. Labbaik, Allahumma labbaik, labbaik, la sharika laka labbaik, innal hamda wa ni'mata laka wal mulk, la sharika lak. 3 times you pray that, and then you make dua, depending on your time, how much time you've got. Now, once you have made the intention and you played your labbaik, you are now fully in ihram. When you are fully in ihram, when we are fasting during the month of Ramadan, for husband and wife, all the regulations, all the masail applies to both of you. So there's no intermating with husband and wife, and also no perfume, nothing is allowed while during your ihram. You cannot cut your hair, you cannot clip your nails, you cannot use soap, shampoo, nothing, you cannot shave, you cannot pluck your hair, nothing at all. And you cannot eat any food that's got fragrance in. When I say food, we say elaichi. When people eat, obviously has got fragrance, so you're not allowed to eat that. But if it's cooked, then yes, you're allowed to eat it. So, and you cannot kill any insects or anything, nothing at all. Now, obviously, inshallah, once you withdraw your boarding pass, you will be boarding into the plane. When you are boarding into the plane, what they normally do, they give you a steam towel. Yeah, so don't take the steam towel because obviously that is got perfume and it's got scent on which you're not allowed to put on. Okay, so don't take the steam towel. Inshallah, from there on, those brothers, you'll be going to Makkah from Jeddah. When you go to the airport, your guide people will take you to your hotel. When you reach your hotel, you actually make sure that you take a hotel card from them, yeah, and also your visa, paper visa if you want to take it, but it's on your phone entirely up to you. What we normally do, me and my family, we actually keep the visa and clip the hotel card with the visa paper. So if any of the police officers stops you there and asks for your visa, straight away you can show it to them. Without your visa, you will not be able to get your SIM card as well. Now, those ladies who are in the monthly cycle, they don't need to worry. All they have to do to wudu and also face towards Qibla and make intention. Ya Allah, I'm making intention to perform Umrah. Make it easy for me, accept it for me. Ya Allah, मैं उम्रे के ihram की नियत करती हूँ, मेरे लिए आसान फरमा, कबूल फरमा. ये औरतों का हो गया. अब इंशाल्लाह औरत भी जो है ihram के अंदर आ गई. Ladies are in their ihram, the men folk are in their ihram as well. We will go to the hotel, put our saman. What we advise people here is those brothers who hasn't been for Umrah before at all, who's never been, go after Fajr because it's 42 degrees at the moment. or go after Maghrib or Isha when it's nice and cool. So you'll be able to do your Umrah, inshallah. Now, those ladies, you can take your ladies who are not in the monthly cycle, both your husband and wife can go. But when you go, make sure which entrance you are going in from, because there are over 100 doors, yes? But I believe now for Umrah people, they only allow from one entrance, yeah? And take a small carrier bag for your slippers and keep the slippers with you wherever you go in the haram. Inshallah, you will put all your luggage, everything in, Hazrat, will say something?
Yes.
Oh. Okay, so you'll be going for your Umrah inshallah. Those ladies who are in the monthly cycle, they will stay in the hotel until they are back and safe. So what the husband or the son or the brother will do is go to Masjid Aisha when she wants to do her Umrah, and that brother will go to Masjid Aisha and put on an ihram for another Umrah. They will collect her lady folk from the hotel, and then both of you can do your Umrah together, inshallah. Now, from here,
तो इसके लिए दो तीन बातें हैं फिर आपको पता
no, no problem.
So we didn't have two mics, but now we've got two, so it should be a bit easier. Alhamdulillah. So what Fazal Mama was mentioning about Ihram. So Ihram is, as it mentioned in front of you, you got a copy of these slides, it's a state. Okay, so you can actually come into the state of Ihram without putting the sheets of Ihram on. Remember that, okay? Obviously that's not the Sunnah. The Sunnah is what the Mama said. The first what you do is you have your ghusl, preferably to remove the hair from the private areas, trim the mustache, clip the nails, perfume. So even the hadith mentioned that Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam that you put perfume, don't be shy about it. Put it in your hair, put it in your beard. Okay, it's a sunnah of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Many of the ulama wish to have the references. Because remember, after this, once you go into that state, you won't be allowed to use anything of sorts. Okay? Now this, you mentioned this about how one should feel being in a state of ihram in a second. But ihram for men, as Brother Mama mentioned, is no stone garment in the shape of clothing to be worn. I've got a slide on the shoes, the amount of questions that we get on, I think every year, probably half of them are just somebody sending a picture of a chipper. These okay. Ihram for women, because the mom is covered with normal clothing, no cloth touching the face directly, the head is covered. The ulama actually mentioned that the state of ihram, it's supposed to be uneasy in some respects. You don't need to be over obsessed, okay? It's deliberately designed to keep you in sort of on edge, okay? Because it's all part of the greater purpose, okay? So essentially what we're being forced to do is, we can't do a lot of things, doing a lot of things. It's trying to create an environment to foster angel qualities, okay? Foster angel qualities. Inshallah, you'll reach them at one point. And that's why, rather than going into ihram and having this mindset that I'm going to go in and come out as soon as possible, try to embrace it. Embrace it. And you go in with that mindset that I'm going to log it out for as long as I need to, because it'll actually help you be patient when it comes back to the 10th of the Hijjah when you're looking to come out of ihram, out of Hajj. And there's many reasons for this, but what's mentioned on that unfocused screen at the bottom, okay? There's a hadith that I did, let me put this reported by Tirmizi, rahmatullah alayhi, when Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says that ma min mu'minin, that there is no Muslim, there is no mu'min, okay, except that he spends a day in just the state of ihram. He does nothing, there's no zikr, nothing extra, but just wears ihram. إِلَّا غَابَتِ الشَّمْسُ بِذُنُوبِهِ, except that the sun sets and takes all his sins with him. Okay? So just being in the state of ihram is a virtue in itself. So the method from the screen in front of you, 2 rakats prior to salah, recite again the sunnah, Surah Al-Kafirun in the first rakat, Surah Al-Ikhlas in the second rakat. Watch out for the makruh times. Make the intention, as Hazrat Mama has said, of either Umrah and Hajj or Hajj, depending on what type of thing you're doing. say the talbiyah, and when to put on ihram is a personal decision. Okay, there's some people that might be able to do it earlier than others. Some people will go to Medina Munawwara, some people will put it on the airports. Okay, have a think about this thing. Okay, now remember that when you say the labbaik, okay, that the ulama write that when Ibrahim alayhi salam, the Kaaba had existed before the time of Ibrahim salam, but in terms of the physical structure, okay, that he built with Ismail alayhi salam, he said to Allah Ta'ala, you know what, make an announcement for people to come for Hajj. And the Kitabs mention that obviously Ibrahim alayhi salam said to who, there's nobody there. And Allah Ta'ala said, look, your job is to make the announcement. My job is to make sure the people that need to hear it hear it. So the ulama write that when we were all in Alimul Arwah, everyone sitting here today, you have existed before your existence on the date of birth that's shown on your passport. At least if that's the right date of birth, some of the elders came and picked whichever one. So we all existed at a time in Alim al-Arwah when all the souls were together, yes? And when Ibrahim alayhi salam made that call, the amount of labbaiks that you made then are the amount of Hajj you will do in this lifetime. So again, the labbaik moment is a special moment. The Kitabs will mention how everything says labbaik with you from right to left. And I mentioned this, maybe this year I left it out, but I put it in today, that the mashayikh, the pious people of the past, labbaik was, for us it's just, okay, I've done this, but then let's go, pick up the phone and start playing Tetris. They don't debate it. What do they nowadays? Do a thing about old. The state of labbaik, okay, it's actually a state of love and fear, hope and fear, okay? Imam Zainul Abidin, who was the great grandson of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, when he would come to say the labbaik, he literally could not bring himself to say the words. He'd fall unconscious. So at that time, the students of the Sahaba, they were worried, and they said to Imam Zainul Abidin that, you cannot go to Hajj without the labbaik. We need to get the labbaik done. So what did he reply? He said, when I say labbaik, I'm worried that I'm saying I'm here to Allah, labbaik, Allahumma labbaik. But what if I get a response saying, I'm not here? What if I get a response on the other side saying, you're here, but we're not here for you? So this was the fear that they would have going into the labbaik, the state of being in ihram. And again, these are things that is very difficult for me, especially, and society in general, because we don't spend enough time with those people who are genuinely connected with Allah Ta'ala. Everything doesn't need to be a conversation. We don't constantly need to be talking about things. The majlis of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wasallam had long silences, okay? So again, remember I said right at the beginning, the Hajj is designed to try and coach you about life. And when you sit with people, you will start to experience these qualities, but it is something that will be very strange to a lot of us, okay? Ibrahim ibn Adham, again, one of the pious elders of the past, rahmatullah alayhi, when he put on his ihram from Kufa, he made a pact with his Saki, his friend. He said that first what we're going to do is once we say that labbaik, that la natakallam illa billah, that the only conversation we're going to have now is with Allah. Okay? So again, go in with that mindset, inshallah, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will hopefully assist you. Fazl Mama mentioned the miqat, there's a diagram in front of you. Again, there are some miqats that they were shown to Ibrahim alayhi salam, Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi salam, to the angels. These are the ones that have Dhul Hulayfa, again on that diagram, Dhatu Qarnul Manazil, etc., etc. Reality is most of you will probably be flying them through Jeddah, okay? So there's a difference of opinion with the Jeddah part of the miqat, but to avoid the difference, ulama say make sure you're in ihram before you sort of the plane comes down. If you're transiting through Jeddah to go to Medina Munawwara, then of course there's no need for ihram because you go to Medina Munawwara first. The wisdom of ihram, okay, the wisdom of the state of ihram, where suddenly all these rules that Fazal Mama was saying to you, permissible actions, non-permissible actions, you can't use perfume, shampoo, washing up liquid, deodorant creams, depending on what type of creams, intimate with family, sensitive issues. You can't even tell headlights, as the Mama was saying. Why is it? What's the point? So, what am I right that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is sending a message that normal things that you would consider normal halal, they have now become haram for you. This is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sending you a message that it's not in your hands, it's not in the hands of man to make what is halal and make what is haram. This is Allah Ta'ala's rules. And if He wanted to, He could switch them as He does when you're in the state of ihram. Again, it's a lesson to remember. This was the slide I was talking about. The best picture is the one on the right, okay? If you stick your sandals on, that black line, okay, and anything you're covering is below that, and everything above that is uncovered, your shoes are okay, or your sandals are okay. There's a couple of examples there, but I'll leave it at that because I know that people have different shoe sizes, different shoes, different feet, okay? So it's an individual thing. Cousin Mama mentioned about arriving at the airport, okay? Again, various airlines. The reason why I put that little logo at the bottom left was that a lot of you will be arriving on planes. These two Hajjis, the 22nd today, what's the date today? 18th, yeah. So in 4 days' time, those two guys on their bikes, they biked it from Edinburgh all the way to Umrah because they were to Hajj. Rayhan and Abdurrahman from Edinburgh. So they cycled it all the way they started in Ramadan. So big dua for them. We flew out in the middle, halfway when they were in Serbia to Belgrade to go to the Hajj program with them. Because the Hujjaj, we probably go for the khidmat. So just let you know that there are many people taking long journeys. Obviously, they're fundraising for Gaza, hence why they decided to do this. So we're just about, my sort of next stop is going to be literally when we're going inside Haram Sharif so I can pass over to Umrah. When you go to Makkah al-Mukarramah before, remember your talbiyah, okay? Remember I was saying the labbaik, Allahumma labbaik. You just put this, you're going to like this one. The Mufti and Akram, the right Masala. If somebody is reciting talbiyah, it's not even permissible for you to make salam to them. Okay, remember that, yeah? Like sometimes you go to the masjid, if somebody's reading the Quran, okay? You shouldn't make salam to them. You're becoming a problem between them and Allah. Okay, something is urgent, somebody's dying. I'm not trying to make exceptions there. The general rule, okay? These are etiquettes of life. So if somebody's saying talbiyah, don't come between them and Allah. You get it? Because what normally happens is that, unfortunately, our salams are the beginning of so many useless conversations. Okay, that's fact. Our salam. So the ulama, Allah reading talbiyah constantly is one zikr up until your first istilam, when you start your tawaf. Fazl Mama mentioned this. Secondly, when you're moving positions, it's more emphasized. So when you're getting up, going out, okay, for the talbiyah to be recited. Again, it's once it's on your tongue, and it's an individual thing. Ulama, you're right that it's not right for people to recite talbiyah as groups. Sometimes you get group leaders, and everybody's like, even with the Mufti Akram, they even write against this too. Okay, so just bear in mind these adab, these etiquettes of talbiyah. Entering the sacred haram area, the masjid and the area are included. Okay, so again, what we refer to as Masjid al-Haram is just the masjid and its immediate vicinity. But the blessed haram, as you can see in that image on the bottom right from Google Maps, okay, it's an area that spreads a good portion of Makkah al-Mukarramah. And it's marked by various signs. I don't know what they have nowadays in terms of the bridge. That you will know that you're entering the blessed haram. So again, as Hazrat Mama mentioned, sort out any hotel arrangements. If you can't go on ghusl, take a rest. This is an interesting one. See, in the olden days, I forgot the name of the place, but when people used to walk into Hajj, when they walk into the haram, there's a specific place that it's actually sunnah to stop there before you go into Masjid al-Haram. So ulama, they draw a principle from that if you are knackered, okay, and you know that if you go into the Masjid al-Haram, you're not going to have khushu, you're not going to have wudu, and all you're going to have in your head is, you know what, let's quickly get this out of the way so I can get back to my hotel, get out of my haram and go to sleep. then it's not wise for you to go for Umrah. You might as well rest for a few hours, get recharged, change your ihram if you need to, then go to the haram, okay? Because the state that you're in reflects the output that you will be able to put there, okay? One thing I forgot to mention about the general haram boundary and haram area, that again the ulama mentioned from the ayat al-karima وَالْبِلَاهِ مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ الرَّجِيمِ وَمَنْ يُرِدْ فِيهِ بِإِلْحَادٍ بِظُلْمٍ نُذِقْهُ مِنْ عَذَابٍ أَلِيمٍ, that they would extend principles that committing sins in the state of Ihram and even in the blessed Haram are worse than outside of these places. Some pious Salaf would say that I wish, as the Shaykh mentions this as well, that I would commit 70 sins outside a Haram than actually inside the Haram, okay? So again, please bear in mind what those adab and etiquettes are. And now, inshallah, we are going to head into the Umrah. So just the outline of Umrah that Fazl Mama is going to go through with you. He's already been through the Ihram. I got him to do it early because it was connected to that time. He's going to discuss the Tawaf with you, the Sa'i with you, and the Halaq method, okay? Just when I'm getting to the Masjid, I'm going to pass it over. When you enter the Masjid, Masjid al-Haram, okay? Again, as Hazrat has mentioned about ladies, I think we made a decision, one of the mashwaras, that we're not going to answer the ladies' questions. So at the end of this presentation, there's actually links to a few Abas, Tasneem Abba, Munir Abba, and there's a couple of the groups. I can't remember exactly. Please, the lady folks, they can get some individual advice there. In terms of your reward, though, okay, I do want to make this point because when you go to the Haram Sharif, unfortunately, you're going to feel and see things that perhaps are not ideal, okay? So one is the place is flooded with women, okay? It's flooded with women. There's probably sometimes more women in there than men, which is strange because when it comes to Jamaat, Salah, and men, the obligations on them is not even on the women. The reward that we say 100,000, okay? And according to some narrations, it's actually 100 million times reward to lead Jamaat Namaz with Masjid al-Haram. Then that's for the men. So even if the women were not to go for Jamaat Namaz, and she would pray her namaz in the hotel, she would get exactly the same reward that she's going to get anyway, and it would be more virtuous for her to do that. So again, just bear in mind that, okay? It's sunnah to enter through the Bab of Salam. The Bab of Salam is a bit difficult nowadays to get that way. Enter the masjid with the right foot, recite Talbiyah, Bismillah, Durood Sharif, as you normally would do when you enter any masjid, and the Dua for I'tikaf. Walk and conduct yourself with utmost humility. And again, upon seeing the Holy Kaaba for the first time, say the Takbir, say the Tahleel, La ilaha illallah, say Labbaik, and then make your Dua. You know, again, this special moment, okay, you save you this for the rest of your time, for the rest of your life. So if you do happen to remember us, then by all means, please remember us. There's various points of what the Mashaykh would make. And again, you have to build this into you. I've got this one friend, one of the Hajj Satis, he's not here today, but what I really like about this guy is that you actually have to move him away from the Kaaba. If I said to make dua for 2 hours, he would continue to make dua for 2 hours. He's got that ability. I'm in awe of that person because most of us, we literally max out within 5 minutes. Okay, be kind to yourself, yeah? But this guy can look at the Kaaba and just cry, making duas. I don't know where he gets it from, but again, remember what I said to you right at the beginning, write your duas down, learn them, practice them, okay? Because that's the time for it to come out. And then there is a mention that the Prophet ﷺ renewed his wudu before tawaf, okay? So if you do have some issues in the haram, there actually are some wuzu places. It's a bit hard to describe, but try and keep your wuzu as best as possible because you're going to need it during the tawaf. And then head to the start point, okay? So again, the diagram here pointing out different parts of the Kaaba Sharif. Everything has a story, everything has a purpose. So if you get time, inshallah, we'll sort of rely on that. Fazil Mama, you want to go through the Umrah point and any points that I've missed? ठीक ठीक कसर मसला हम बाद में कर लेंगे ठीक है ठीक है और the meaning Fazil Mama said to go with the meaning of labbaik. So on your screen, labbaik, Ya Allah, I'm here, Allahumma labbaik, I'm here, labbaik, I'm here, la sharika laka labbaik, there's no partner with you, labbaik, innal hamd, indeed hamd, praise, wa ni'mah, blessing is for you, and dominion, and there's nobody that shares it with you. So again, that's the translation. It doesn't sink into them so fast, but just look at the word alhamd there. Okay? Who here has ever complimented somebody? Okay? Asif, maybe he never complimented his wife, but combine every single compliment that you've ever made in your life to anyone, include all your Facebook likes, your retweets, add them all together. Okay? Then add together every compliment. Doesn't matter. I was saying that combine every single compliment you've made, your family's made, everyone that you know that's made, every compliment that's ever existed in the molten beauty in the world, from Adam alayhi salam to the last person. How many compliments is that? Add them all together, it will not even be one part of when we say to Allah Ta'ala, Alhamdulillah, that Ya Allah, all praise is for you. This is what we mean, okay? That anything that was ever good in our lives that we thought was good, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is far superior and beyond that. That's not how we do. So there's going to be a practical demo of Umrah. We don't have the green light, but it's in that image on the top left, which you'll see here. What's the name of the image? Put your hand up if you're not with that again. Who's not been for Umrah? Who's not been for Umrah? I'd say about 10, 11. Everybody else has been for Umrah. Was it, Mama? Yeah. Okay, so we just take it a bit slow. About 10, 11 and never been for Umrah before. Right.
You want me to start the bottom piece or you want me to carry on? You guys know? Don't be shy, don't hesitate. Start again. As I mentioned, you can do it three ways, brothers, yeah? But one of the best things is make sure you spread your legs. If you don't spread your legs, you're going to find it very difficult, yeah? You can do it, make sure you put this at the top. If you don't want to do it this way, the way I'm doing it, you can actually hold it together, keep holding it the way you want it, yeah? All the way, and then roll it up. But the chances are this way, it might become loose. The other way is, you can actually here go all the way around and then keep holding it until you feel comfortable. Yeah? But the way I like to do it is, the reason is if you get your hair wet, you will not be able to show your private part because you've got your 3 or 4 folds in front of you. Yeah? This corner at the top, hold it tight with your left hand. Keep coming 1 or 2 inches above. Now, can you see all this, your private parts is gone? And I advise people to buy toweling ehram, not cotton ehram. Because if you get it wet, even on the side, you will show all your legs and everything, and even your back bone as well. Yeah, I prefer the toweling. The other thing is in the toweling ones, if you're sweating too much, which you will be doing because you're going to be 40, 45 degrees. Yeah, so you buy a toweling one, if you feel comfortable, it will soak your sweat as well. Yeah. The money belt, as I mentioned, is entirely up to you, whichever you prefer. If anybody got big belly, then I advise you to buy this. There's a black one here, they sell it in the Masjid as well. Because you won't be, if you buy the wide one, if you got a big belly, when you sit down at the airport or in the coaches, wherever, you won't feel comfortable because you felt you hear the belly. You put your money in, your miswak, your plaster, as I mentioned, yeah. So your bottom piece is done. Okay? Does everybody understand, brothers? If anybody doesn't understand after the program, even after tomorrow, I'm always here in this masjid or Rahman Masjid. You can contact me and I'll give my time one-to-one if you guys need it or whoever wants to come and see us here. Inshallah. Yeah. Sorry. So if you guys want to come and see me how to put on the ihram, then inshallah I will show you. I don't mind any time. You can contact me here. You can ask anybody in the masjid. You've got my contact number as well. Okay. So and I will meet you here at your convenience, inshallah. I'm always here. Asr, Maghrib, and Isha. Yeah. Like the top piece, again, it's very easy. It's just you got to know how to do it. And please, brothers, don't wash your ihram if you buy it new. Take it out at home and try it first. Make sure it's the right size. Just before COVID, I've got a very good friend of mine. He came here to learn about Hajj. And then 2-3 days before we were going, he said, can you come to my house? I said, why? What's the problem? He said, my ihram is too small. He said, can you come and show me? The guy was short as well, he's about this height. I went up to him, I said, you've got the wrong ihram. I said, you've got child and you've got ihram. So before you wash it, check your ihram, make sure it's the right one. Luckily, he tried it here. Before they got to the airport and checked his ihram out, he would have had a piece of ihram, all his arms and his body would have been showing. So try your ihram first. If it fits you and it's okay, then you wash it, because in some of the ihram, you find that there's a lot of fluff coming out, yeah? And I don't like that because I've got asthma, and when fluff comes out, it's no good for people who've got asthma. Right. I'm going to put the top piece on, brothers, and show you. It's entirely up to you whether you put the left corner or the right corner. Because I'm righty, I'll keep the right one and the 3/4 of the on my right hand. If you're a lefty, you can keep from your left. It's entirely up to you. But this corner one, make sure you're covering your belly button. Don't do it here. Yeah? And then the bottom piece, as I mentioned earlier, brother, make sure it's at least 4 fingers above your belly button all the way down. This corner, easily just tuck it on this side, 3/4 will go away, so it covers 3/4 of your stomach. Then, don't keep it like this, make sure it's, well, nice and straight here. This makes it easier for you to throw it over. Grab hold of this corner, which is on the left hand, throw it at the back. You don't need anybody, if it's a bigger hand, just tuck the corner. We are now fully covered. Yes? As I said, once we made our intention for ihram, then we pray the way as much as possible. Okay? There are two for us to perform umrah. One is to put on your ihram, make intention, and pray the way. These three put together make one for us. The second for us now, which we are going to do, is tawaf. And then there are two wajibs. The two wajibs is to do Safa Marwa Sa'i and do your Khala. If you miss any of these, if you miss your two faras, then you got to start all over again and pay the penalty. Yes? If you made a mistake, you pay the penalty, depending on what mistake you have made. You have to ask the local Mufti there or you will make it up. Okay? Now, Alhamdulillah, from your home, you pray the way as much as possible. You've got your address card for the hotel, which is a must, brothers. Because if you are going first time, you don't know where you are or where your hotel is, you must have your address card with you at all times. The ladies will carry their own, you will carry your own. Because a lot of people, when they get there, they get lost, they don't know which way to go. If you've got the address card, at least the local people or anybody will show you where your hotel is. People do get lost there. Okay? You got your visa with you as well, because one family from India, they went, and one Maulana was with them as well. They were doing Safa Marwa Sa'i. Maulana had to go and relieve himself at the toilet behind Safa Marwa. So he said, you wait here, both his mother and his wife. So then he said, I'll go to the toilet, I'll come back. So the police officers came and said, where's your visa? Where's your Akram? They didn't have anything on them. So they took the mother who was in the wheelchair and Maulana's wife at the police station. When he come back, they both were there. So he started asking around, so the police took them. Eventually he found out, so he had to take the passport, this is in Umrah, the visa, and go to the police station, and then they released them. If the ladies had it with them on any Hajj, if they had the visa with them at all times, then this would have not happened. This is why we advise people 24/7, make sure you have your visa with you and even a hotel address card. The reason for the hotel address card, I personally put on the room number on the hotel address card as well. So if you collapse or something happens to you, the ambulance takes you to the hospital and you are unconscious, then at least you can find a visa and a hotel card so they can notify your family at the hotel. Yeah? My brother, who used to live on Brisbane Street, he passed away. He collapsed in the haram 3-4 days. We didn't know where he was, and eventually we found out. He collapsed in haram. He was in the hospital. So these are the small things we give you, brother, but these are very, very important. Anyway, now from the hotel, we pray the break as much as possible. From Jeddah airport or Medina coming back, you put on your alarm the same way, and then inshallah you will go to your hotel and walk, make your way towards Baitullah. You pray the break as much as possible. Keep your gauges down. And I believe now they only let you go through for Umrah, isn't it, or Brother Sohail? From one gate, yeah? So remember the gate number. Let's say, for example, Haram is very, very big. It's massive, yeah? You go over 100 doors. So, say for example, your hotel is in Swiss or Safa Towers, and then there's from 92 to 96 door numbers, for example. That's where we stayed the last time. But so you know which door you have to come out from. So when you finish your Umrah, that your hotel is in front of number 92, let's say. So you know that if you come out from number 92, you will reach your hotel straight away. Now inshallah, you will enter Haram according to the Sunnah way, yeah? Pray Ibrahim and our Jerusalem, whichever you know, and then Allahumma ftahli Allah rahmatik bismillahi taqaltu wa alayhi tawakkaltu wa rawaitu sunnatal kitab. Keep your gauges down as much as possible, and then you enter inside the Haram. Then find a nice, suitable place where people don't push you if there's too much rush. You stand there. As soon as your gauges fall on Baitullah, you stop playing the break. Yes? And then you find Hazrat Aswad. You find Hazrat Aswad. Now, brothers, I remind you here, from today, please buy Fazail Hajj and read it at home. With your family for 5-10 minutes. You can buy it in English, Urdu, Gujarati, yeah, and also in Arabic as well. Buy it and start reading it from now all the way while you finish your Hajj for Makkah, Medina, and during the 5 days of Hajj, what the words are, क्या फजीलत है उसकी इंशाल्लाह आपको बहुत आसानी रहेगी and it will make your iman more stronger as well inshallah. So from today make intention that you will start reading Fazail Hajj. Also every day after Asr Salah here and all the masajids, yeah, they will read this and sit down and listen to the Fazail of Hajj. Now inshallah we will enter Haram. What you have to do is find Hazrat Aswad. In front of Hazrat Aswad there is a green light. So if you look for the green light, you know that Hazrat Aswad is in front of the green light. Now, I always say few things here. Wait, watch, and observe. So, because it's going to be a pool of people in the Haram. Now, you don't know where you are, you don't know which way to go. You have to find a way which is easiest for you to walk. You don't want to walk into the main maqam and then get lost with the crowd. So from the outside as much as possible, or even the inside on the ground floor, yeah, you look for the green light on Hazrat Aswad and make your way there. That's why this is Hazrat Aswad in this corner now. Yes? Now while I'm on, let me tell you, there are 15 places in Makkah where your du'as are accepted. Where your du'as are accepted. One is Hazrat Aswad, the door of Multazam, Maqam Ibrahim, that is Hakim, and then you've got Nizam Ahmad here as well, yeah? And then you've got Rukn Yamani, Zamzam, Safa, Marwa, Muzdalifah, Arafat, Mina, all said very well in the second, all these places, brothers, 15 places your du'as are accepted, and all this is mentioned in Fazail Hajj. Now, we come here, we find Hazrat Aswad. Before you get to Hazrat Aswad, remember the 3 eyes. Yeah? 3 eyes. One is intention. One is intention. Second is istiba. This is only for the men folk for istiba. Yeah? So what we will do, we made our intention, Ya Allah, I'm going to perform tawaf or umrah. Yes? Now, if you can't remember, you forget the niyyah, don't worry, because you've already made your intention to perform your umrah. Once, one of my best friends who used to play cricket football with us, he said, Fazal, I want to come with you for Hajj and Umrah. I said, fine. So we did the intention at the airport, where it was from via airport, and then we finished our Tawaf Umrah. And he said, Muslim, I forgot to do my niyyah. I said, don't worry, you've already done your niyyah when you made the intention to perform Umrah at the airport. So the Tawaf you did was already, and it was in your heart to do the Tawaf for Umrah. So if you forget, it's okay, but try to remember, Ya Allah, I'm performing Tawaf Umrah for Tawaf, make it easy for me and accept it for me. So what you do, brother, is then you open your right arm. Yeah. The kuffar were taunting all the Sahaba that these are all skinny and weak, and what are they going to do? So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, open all your shoulders and bring your chest out and show them you are not weak and you are not weak and we are not controlled. So Alhamdulillah, all the men folk only, they have to do the istiba, which is programmed on the slide. And then you come in front of Hazrat Asmar. So you've done your intention, you did the istiba, and the third one is still up. So when you're in front of Hazrat Asmar, it has a photographic memory. Any person, even who is in front of it will give evidence on the day of Qiyamah, inshallah. And then you say, Ya Allah, I'm performing Tawaf for Umrah, which you already made the intention. Bismillah, Ya Allah, Akbar, some people do it once, some people do it 3 times. It's entirely up to you how many times you want to do. Now, from here, what you have to do is not run, but as though you are walking in a walking race. Yeah? Then you have to do your 7 circuits. The ladies don't have to run at all while they are doing the Tawaf or while they are doing their Safa Marwa. So it is only for men. Okay? So then from here you can pray whatever you want. Normally in the Kitab it says pray the third kalima. Subhanallah walhamdulillahi wa la ilaha illallah wallahu akbar wa la hawla wa la quwwata illa billahi al-aliyyil azim. Subhanallah walhamdulillahi wa la ilaha illallah wallahu akbar wa la hawla wa la quwwata illa billahi al-azim. When you come to the third corner here, from Yamani, the third corner, you will see loads of people praying Rabbana Atina, and you will be able to pray the third kalima maybe 200-300 times depending on the crowd, yeah? And from Yamani, from here, you pray Rabbana Atina fid dunya hasanatan wa fil akhirati hasanatan wa qina adhaban nar wa adkhilna al-jannata ma'al abrar ya Aziz ya Ghaffar ya Rabbal Alamin. You will pray maybe 200 times because it's that longer distance. When you come here now, you don't face your chest towards Kaaba when you do your tawaf. And while doing the tawaf, you don't want to get Qibla. All you do is when you do your istilah, Bismillah Allahu Akbar, and then you carry on doing the second round. Subhanallahi walhamdulillahi wa la ilaha illallah wallahu akbar wa la hawla wa la quwwata illa billahi al-azim. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. بسم الله الله أكبر ولله الحمد. That way, you've done your 3 circuits. On the 4th circuit, then you still keep your istiba on and then finish the 7 circuits. During the 7 circuits, if you break your wudu, I normally go to the Zamzam because it's very hard to walk and go for wudu. So I go to the Zamzam, there's a close of 6 there, do your wudu there, and wash your feet with your Zamzam, with a glass, and then come back and finish the talk depending on wherever you go your wudu from. Safa Marwa Sa'i, you don't need your wudu. So if you break your wudu during Safa Marwa Sa'i, then you can just carry on. Now, when you finish your tawaf, the 2 rakat salah, whether you are doing even in your ordinary clothes, when you do one of the tawaf, which is the 7th circuit, you have to pray a 2 rakat wajib namaz. Yeah, every time. But make sure it's not between Asr and Maghrib, and it's not between Badr and Ishraq. This is for the Hanafi Mazhab. Okay, now, so Alhamdulillah, we finish our 7 circuits. From here now, anywhere you find space in Haram, you pray a 2 rakat wajib namaz or the tawaf that you have done. Whether it's Umrah tawaf, whether it's Nafil tawaf you have to pray 2 wajib rakat namaz. What I normally do, if it's absolutely packed here, in front of Hazrat Aswad, you go up about 50-60 yards, 100 yards, and then there's some steps. There's a pillar there, and a banister, you can't miss it. From there, you will see Hazrat Aswad very clearly. And then from there, you pray your 2 rakat salah. Then you make dua. When you make dua, then slowly, Zamzam is behind Maqam Ibrahim. You can't miss it. So have plenty of Zamzam, make dua from there, look at Multazam, look at Hakim, Mizabul Ahmad, you're going to see everything from there. Yeah? And then you make dua, and then let's say you're facing towards Zamzam like this, at the back of Kaaba. You go to the left called Masa. Yeah? And then if you turn right, sharp right, that's where the ramp is to go towards Safa and Marwa. Okay, brothers? Now, there's loads of tasbihs here, please, to finish your tawaf. So make sure the ladies are tying their own. It's peace of Lillah from our family here. And then you can count a circuit, how many circuits you've done. Same with Safa as well. Now, one elderly person from India, he didn't know how to do the Safa Marwa Sa'i. So instead of doing 7 circuits, he ended up doing 14 circuits, brother. And to do 7 circuits, it's about 3.5 miles. So can you imagine, he did nearly 7 miles because he didn't learn properly. Now, you go to, let's say this is Safa from here, brothers. Now, what you do, when you play your namaz now, you can actually cover your shoulder. You don't have to expose your shoulder. Yeah, even in Safa Marwa, you don't have to expose your shoulder. Okay? So from here, you play your 2 rakat, you make dua, you go to Zamzam, everything. Yeah, and then you go to Safa here. Let's say this is the wall, this side. From Safa here, you will see Baytullah from here, so you can make your dua from here as well. And then from Safa to Marwa, it's 1 circuit. From Safa to Marwa, it's 1 circuit. Now, for men folk, there's a green light on the ceiling. So from the start of the green light to the end of the green light, only men will run. So you don't have to run very fast. Be careful, brothers, because if there's elderly people, make sure you're not pushing anybody, any ladies or anybody like that. And if you think you can't run or you can't do, sometimes you won't be able to walk properly. So you just act as though you are running. And as I said, remember this: wait, watch, and observe before you start from that end. Because I was with my wife once, and I forgot to wait, watch, and observe. So what happened? I just jumped in Safa Marwa. It was so much crowd. People were actually squashing each other. Personally, my chest was actually bouncing like a football like this. And I was uplifted from the floor at least 6 inches. Yeah? So I told my wife, look, we only started maybe, I don't know, 5-10 meters. I said, hold on, let's stop. Let's go on the first floor. There's elevators and lifts on the side. We went on the first floor, Alhamdulillah, we did it very easily. During Hajj time, you might be busy, so you can go on the second floor as well, the third floor. But don't go in the basement because there's no windows in the basement, and you can't even see Kaaba from there as well. So inshallah, from there, we will go from Safa to Marwa. I'm trying to do it as quick as I can now. That is it. Yeah? So we finish our 1 circuit from Marwa. From Marwa to Safa, that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. We will start at Safa and finish at Marwa. Now, once you've done everything, then the ladies, what they will do is, see this tasbih here, all you will do is put their hair, grab hold of it from the back, or any of the sisters who are with them, they can do it as well. Or the husband or the mother can actually grab hold of the hair of the ladies, and wherever it ends at the end, whatever it is, 15, 20 stand, you will just go 1.5 fingers. Yeah? So it will be just like this. Just cut it. One brother, he kept cut, he didn't know how much to cut. By the time her wife came, her hair was shoulder length. Be careful, brothers. And then men will go and do their halal. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has given 3 du'as to the person who will completely shave their hair, and only 1 dua for the person who will cut 1/4 of the hair of his head. Yeah? So this is your Umrah, alhamdulillah, finished. Those ladies who are in the motorcycle, they will stay in the room. As I mentioned earlier on, the brother, when she's parked, inshallah, when she's clean, the brother will go to Masjid Aisha in a taxi, put on your helm from the hotel, and then come back, and as we just explained the Umrah, take your lady folk with you, and finish your Umrah exactly the same way, so she will finish her Umrah as well. Inshallah. Umrah, ठीक है?
Mistake I came, you should have handled it. Alhamdulillah. Sorry. Just a couple of points regarding on Fazil Mama here. There's a hadith of Tirmizi Sharif there where it says that on the day of judgment, Hajj Aswad will actually come with eyes and tongues and bear witness for everybody that did salam to it. Okay. So this is what you're going to find hard because did anybody see that image I put up? Yeah. You know that one with the big red cross? Can you see it there? Because see all them hands that are taking a picture of it. It's fine you take a little picture, but literally that's what you see nowadays. Yeah. Like you go back in the centuries when the smartphone didn't exist, okay? Every one of them hands would be doing this to Allah Ta'ala. The same hands, alright? It was very hard to sort of get that mindset, which is why I'm trying to remind you of these things. So the Hajj Aswad, when you make istilam, okay, whether that's you probably won't get a chance to touch it, very difficult nowadays. So there's nothing wrong with that. Okay, if you leave out a sunnah or mustahab for the betterment of other people, inshallah ta'ala will give you much more, okay? So that Hajj Aswad might see the day of judgment that, what's your name, brother? Shoaib, yeah. Shoaib wanted to kiss me, but he didn't because he was looking after the other Muslims. Ya Allah forgive him. That's actually might what happened. And once, and this is for my mothers and sisters upstairs, please listen carefully. There's a narration mentioned in Kitab al-Umm of Imam Shafi'i where the slave girl of Hazrat Aisha radiallahu ta'ala, she came running in, okay, to our mother of the believers radiallahu ta'ala, and she says to Aisha that, I managed to do istilam and touch and kiss the Kaaba in every round, okay? Now Hazrat Aisha radiallahu ta'ala, because she knew that in that zamana that was virtually impossible to do without doing what happens nowadays, she actually turned around and said, La ajrak Allah, Allah Ta'ala is not going to reward you. She says to her slave girl, Allah is not going to give you any reward. Hal tudafi'ina rijal? Were you pushing the men out of the way? Were you pushing the men folk out of the way? Why did you not just cross and give takbir like you normally would do? So again, that mindset is important because you will see, like I said, the rest of the world doing something different. But inshallah, you know what, there's no harm in trying if you feel a lot of times that I've met brothers, myself, it just happens one day where you realize it's this 1 second of quiet and 24 hours of madness and you just have to be there, okay? That's fine, and that's happened. Allah Ta'ala give that opportunity to all of us, but if it doesn't, don't worry. When you're going around doing Istilam, Bismillah, Allahu Akbar, you are actually visualizing touching the Kaaba, which is why people will then kiss their hands, correct? Okay? There's a saying of Ibn Abbas radiallahu ta'ala anhuma that whosoever does this, man safahu faka'annama safaha Allah azza wa jalla. That whoever does musafaha of the Hajj Aswad, it's as if he is metaphorically meeting and greeting, shaking hands with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's the mindset, okay? So when you're running around, Bismillah, Allahu Akbar, you know what, to get it done, move along, yeah? Just pause for literally 2 seconds and think about what you're doing, okay? Then you go around the Kaaba 7 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. What's the hikmah, the wisdom behind this? The ulama write that is you telling yourself, in Makkah, the biggest worship is the tawaf. You do 1, some people do 5 a day, some people do more than that. There's tawafs and umrah, tawafs and hajj. What's the step with just going around this block anti-clockwise 7 times? Okay? How many days are there in the week? 7. How many times do you go around the Kaaba? 7, okay? So the message that you're learning here is that when you leave Hajj, when you leave Umrah, every day of the week you should be revolving around Allah Ta'ala and what Allah Ta'ala wants you to do. Okay? SubhanAllah, not the other way around, where you go and you live a life and you think, you know what, I'll let my job or my profession or my family dictate what I do in Islam. No, the other way around. I'll let Islam dictate what I do with my job, with my family. Okay? That's the mindset. That's the hikmah. That's the wisdom. Moving on, because we rushed in, between the Hajar Aswad and Safa Marwa, there is the sunnah to drink from the well of Zamzam. Again, it's very, you can't get access to the well. You know what, going back 5 years, you could go and at least get the Zamzam out of the sinks at the back. And even that's a mission. Okay, nowadays that's a mission. But if you have time, you have the opportunity, just queue up, take some Zamzam. The hadith mentions Ma'u Zamzam lima shuriba lahu, that whatever intention you make before you drink Zamzam for, whether that's health, wealth, or maybe Zakariyya Masjid can have a better IT setup next time, I don't know. Take it, just take it a little bit of friends, a lot of order there. You will get that, inshallah, yeah? You will get that. And the Masnoon dua, the Sunnah dua is on your slides. Allahumma inni nas'aluka ilman nafi'a wa rizqan wasi'a wa shifa'an min kulli da', and so on and so forth. The translation is also there. This is one that you may wish to learn. Okay, moving on. Safa Marwa. Okay, what's the mindset? That again is another istilam after Zamzam. If you have a Sunnah to face the Hajar Aswad, Bismillah, Allahu Akbar. Then you come to Safa Marwa. As Hazrat Muhammad, he's explained the process very well. But again, what's the mindset? Okay, what's the mindset between running between Safa and Marwa? Okay, so for everyone, and then one thing specific for the ladies. Okay, for something for them to think about. That you've probably seen the Sohail's kids and my little one coming in. You see, he came in, and then he came in. He goes, "Okay, Baba, they've got a suite outside Zakariyya Masjid. It's the first time he's seen it. Have you got any money?" I never carry cash, right? The one day I carried cash, he caught me with a 25 note. So what do kids do when they want something? They'll go back, they'll come back in, they'll go back, they'll come back in, yeah? So that's your mindset in Safa Marwa. Ya Allah, forgive me on Safa, forgive me here, if not here, after the green lines, forgive me on Marwa. You keep going to Allah, coming back, going to Allah, going to Allah, going to Allah, in the hope that one chance Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala might forgive you at any point. Even that's the mindset that the ulama write. And one thing for the ladies, okay, hopefully the Zakariyya Masjid will be in trouble for this. You know what, I can say ambiguously. Whose sunnah is it to run between the two green lines? Whose sunnah is it? Everybody knows Hazrat Hajara, yes? Alayhi salam, yeah. Who now runs between the green lines? The men run, yeah? So the women did the running, but the men did the running, okay? So I'm just going to pose a question, okay? Have a think about it, okay? That what was a sunnah of a woman, Allah Ta'ala decided that women are not going to be running in public displays outside, but the men are. And for the smart ones, they'll figure it out. For the rest of you, you can go look for the smart ones. After Safa and Marwa, Hazrat discussed the halaq, okay? Again, I was going to go through, we're running a bit short on time, so I'll maybe miss out the whole situation with Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam halaq. But what I will say is that when we cut our hair, okay, what do we do when we have a baby? What happens on the 7th day? Aqiqah, yeah? We cut the baby's hair, right? According to some modes of fiqh, although this is fine if you do it, but we don't stress it as important. If somebody accepts Islam, they're new to Islam, there's encouragement for them also to cut their hair, okay? So cutting the hair as a child, cutting your hair when you come into Islam is a new identity. So when you cut your hair coming out of Ihram or coming out of Umrah, inshallah that's you cutting away your sins, and that's a new identity for you. And finally, if you, again, we're discussing Hajj Tamattu primarily, you will then have a gap between Umrah and Hajj. So the next section, we're going to start talking about Hajj. What do you do during the gaps? Hazrat Maulana Sayyid Ahmad Khan Sahib Rahmatullah Alayhi, some of the elders of the Tablighi Jama'at, for those that have spent time, they'll be well aware of his name. So he would have probably millions of people coming to him. He used to stay in Hijaz, he moved there, and asking them advice about Haram, Makkah, Hijaz, Hajj, Umrah. And he would only give 2 pieces of advice to every Haji or Umrah. And I'd like to share them 2 pieces to you. He says, number 1, when you get to Makkah, find the Kaaba. Okay? Number 2, when you find the Kaaba, spend the rest of your time looking for the Lord of the Kaaba. That's what he would say. Okay? So when you're in Makkah to Mukarramah, you find Kaaba, you done your Umrah, then start, inshallah, resting, building yourself. As the Shaykh, Muhammad Zakariyya writes, according to him, Nabi Karim Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam would do many tawafs in Makkah Sharif when he got there from Medina Munawwara, after doing his Umrah, until Hajj starts. So that's one ibadat that you can do, okay? Umrahs you can also do, bit of a difference of opinion there amongst the scholars, okay? But the least you can do, if you can't do long tawafs, because nowadays you might be forced to go to the second floor, and look at quality, don't look at quantity, okay? If somebody comes to you and says, I did 10 tawafs, and I managed to do them each in 20 minutes each, okay? Your 3 tawafs in the same amount of time might be worth more on the Day of Judgment. Remember that, okay? Because in the eyes of Allah Ta'ala, He looks at the weight of your actions, doesn't look at the numbers. And when it comes to even participating in the prayers, okay, the popular narration, as I alluded to earlier, is 100,000 times more reward, okay? Some hadith mention not 100,000, they say 100 million times reward to pray Jamaat with Masjid al-Haram, okay? So if you're going to just treat the salahs lightly, gone, not gone, let's leave Fajr, etc. I know it's difficult when you stick far. Please remember that that is what you're there to do, okay? That is the only time you're there to try and maximize your reward, inshallah. So with those few points relating to spirituality, mindset, okay, we're going to, inshallah, move on to the Hajj section. So again, the brothers, mashallah, that set this up for us on the part of London, they released a comfort break, chai nashta for you brothers. So I think it's a good time because you listen patiently for a couple of hours, refresh your brains, inshallah, have a bit of muzakara, and then we'll reconvene and around about 20 minutes. 5 minutes?
Brothers, just before we break off for a comfort break, do we have any questions regarding the Umrah? I know a few of the brothers are going for the first time. There's only a handful, alhamdulillah, that's good. If you have any questions, then just grab any one of us and we'll go through anything regarding your Umrah. And then inshallah we'll start on Hajj as soon as you've had a bit of a break. Jazakumullah, assalamu alaikum.
So where are they going upstairs, downstairs? Just outside? Still safe. So literally go outside the masjid on the right hand side, brothers, and put the staqana.
There must be there as well.
That ara dia hajj में जाना थे दिल्ली फाइनल थी you know going to well I'm going to go
Asif, you used to sit there. Now what are you doing, man? Can't you sit like this in Hajj? But I like doing that now. You said to me half an hour, great. Yeah, now. Honest. You can get out between cars.
And then I'll meet you in the morning or you know, meet you at night for that coffee. Yeah. I'll allow you on my side just to start stuff. So for you to know the means of the body, just remember I'll do it tomorrow morning. Yeah,
Asmar Sohail આવી ગયો માશાઅલ્લાહ માશાઅલ્lah મજા આવી હોય ને So I think it was going to be Zakariyya said we've got a Hajj program now, so I should be finishing at Asif, so I'll pop by later. Don't worry about it, I'll just pop by sometime, don't worry. Oh, so we Jazakallah. I'm going to send you the link of our program. That will pop every time. Okay. Andy, how are you doing? نعم لا يهوارته ya na bawa guna inu hapas guna chalu na ke wonda ni tamo de yote ne tegi pesa na ya ni wonda na ke ya tamara bi program me behi gani so tamara ke important chani ये लोगों ने 4:30 जितना बड़ा ऑर्गेनाइजेशन बाकी चीज़ों को ऑर्गेनाइज करते हैं इम्पोर्टेंट क्या आप लोग तो करने भी नहीं करते tickets तो ये सब भाई it's a custom से क्या really don't worry I've already seen the tickets रुमाल से ये पर 20-25 पाउंड नंबर है
Milhamnya bisa.
Orang itu sudah ada lagi itu. Sila se ये चंद्र पे क्या नहीं बोला ना? हाँ, इतना भाई। ये अब लोग मना नहीं करते। मैंने ना साइड बाजी भी रखो पीछे। Kiper the Moman है इधर कुछ नहीं Moman है Let's round it up.
Yeah, I'm making that.
Rattling as much as you can by 6 o'clock.
Assalamu alaikum. Could the participants please make their way into the masjid? The rules are apparently you like water, so bring the water with you. And we will begin inshallah in a couple of minutes. Inshallah, for the final session for today, inshallah.
Digilah kus jelly mau digi. Digilah kus jelly mau digi.
Sixty seconds, please. 60 seconds. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم أما بعد اللهم إني نستعينك على طاعتك. So welcome back to Saturday session 2. This session inshallah will last approximately 1.5 hours, probably a little less. I'll be going through just a small introduction to Hajj, inshallah, 10 minutes or so. Then I'll be passing over to Sohail, Hakim and Asif, Dalal. We will start going through the days of Hajj. During that, I will be joined by Sheikh al-Hadith Sahab Hazrat Mufti Shabir Sahab from Blackburn. He will be arriving approximately 6ish, at which point we'll hand the mic over to Ustadji he will give us some nasihat, and then we'll close the session straight after his nasihat for today and continue tomorrow from wherever we've left the days of Hajj. Okay? So we begin again following the slides. Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, Al-umratu ila al-umrati kafaratun lima baynahuma wal hajjul mabrur laysa lahu jaza'un illa al-jannah. That the reward for Hajj Mabrur, which sometimes they translate as an accepted Hajj, but we'll discuss that in more detail later. Hajj Mabrur, the reward for such a Hajj is nothing except paradise, except Jannah. So what does Hajj Mabrur involve? How does one attain Hajj Mabrur? What does one do to get Hajj Mabrur? What does one do to not or to lose out on Hajj Mabrur? Inshallah, we'll touch base more on that as the presentation goes along. One thing, and we'll mention this, that the Sahaba Kiram, when they heard this, they asked the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Ma birrul Hajj, that what is meant by Hajj Mabrur. And according to one narration by Imam Tirmidhi, Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Tibul kalam wa it'amu ta'am. Tibul kalam, being able to speak nicely. When I say nicely, the way we should act to Hajj. Okay, not being frustrated, not swearing, la fusuq, as Mufti Sahib said at the beginning, nothing, no lewd talk, no swearing, etc., etc., no hardening other people with our words, which is done very easily. And secondly, it'amu ta'am, feeding people. So Allah Pak gave Jazai Khair to Mama, Maaz by your side, and all the other satis, but they were just feeding you. There's a virtue in feeding people to attain Hajj Mabrur. Again, since I mentioned Mufti Mufti Shabir Sahib, once sitting in the Harim Sharif, and for those that have been for Umrah, and Masjid Nabawi Sharif and the Haram, and even in perhaps when it was possible, Haram Makki, the Arabs have this tradition, which comes from the Sunnah, where they put a sufra for people that are fasting. So the days, for example, Mondays and Thursdays, or in Ramadan, they pride themselves in putting out a sufra, and they want people to come and sit so that they can have the honor of feeding them. Okay? So Musa was saying, I was watching once where somebody had laid out their dastarkhan like you had outside, and somebody came along and moved that dastarkhan to put his dastarkhan there. Yeah? And they started fighting with one another. When I say fighting, why did you move my dastarkhan? These are my guests, I want to feed them. And he said, no, you can make room, we're enough for both of us. So Saji said something very nice, okay? He goes, पूरी उम्मत खाना खाने पे लड़ती है और आप लोग खाना खिलाने पर लड़ रहे हैं. Because the whole ummah, we fight over eating, what's ours, we want, okay? Whereas these people, they're not fighting over eating, they're fighting over feeding. So develop that mizaj, do your ibadat and Hajj, of course, all the azkar that we've spoken about, the mentality that we spoke of. There was that brother, I can't remember where he's gone, he asked a very good question during the break, and because of his barakat and his sincerity, Allah Pak reminded me to mention something during Tawaf, okay, which I missed out. So the ulama write that when you say Bismillah, Allahu Akbar, and you're going around Ka'batullah Sharif, the mindset that you should have is as if you're in Salah. In Salah you look down, you're not looking right, not looking left. You only speak less, generally, and specifically during Tawaf as a Sunnah, okay? So that's the mentality that you should have. Jazakallah khair to that brother. So moving on, we discussed this right at the beginning, the three types of Hajj: Qiran, Tamattu, Ifrad. The brothers will be making reference to these, but just for the sake of the tartib, we're going to be discussing what you see now on your screen, which is the order of the Hajj days. So the Hajj days are essentially 5 days, beginning on the 8th of the Hajj. This is after most of you, if you're mutamattirun, you will have done your Umrah, come out of Ihram, waiting for the days of Hajj. So on the 8th, inshallah, you will start at number 1, which is Al-Masjid al-Haram, or perhaps some of you may be in Aziziyah. Then you will go to Mina, number 2. You will stay there on the 8th of Dhul-Hijjah. And then on the 9th of Dhul-Hijjah in the morning, you'll move to number 3, which is Arafah, right at the end, to the bottom right of the image. next to the camel outline. And then that same day you will move back to number 4, which is Muzdalifah. That's the evening, you will spend the night in Muzdalifah. And then the following morning, on the 10th of the Hajj, you will return to Mina, and we will explain what Mina is, to go undergo your pelting of the shaitan, your rami, your harat. And in between the next 3 days, you will be pelting in some form, and then you'll also be undertaking your tawaf of ziyarah. Okay? As a bit of advice, Mawlana Rashid Saab, Sayyid Musa, he said this al-Falah, is that look, we all want to do things maximizing our reward, and we should do that. But to be honest, unless you're with Sohail, walking it to Hajj is very difficult to fulfill all the sunnahs. So they may move you to certain places outside that timeline, okay? But unfortunately, you just have to follow the instructions that you have from your guests, because logistically, there's millions of people that have to be moved in a short space of time. Don't be a hero and drag others into difficulty, okay? General advice, okay? Remember, and again, this has always been the way of the Salaf. We all want to be pious, and if Allah Ta'ala has blessed you with a high level of taqwa and try to do things better, that's great, that's what we should do. But when it comes to other people, family members, females, elderly, okay, for them, we need to pick what is the easiest option, okay? And as I mentioned right at the beginning, you should always have with you a document, a wird, that any time you have, you can start reading something, praying something, making dua. Moving on to packing for Hajj, okay? Again, I alluded to this earlier, where I described what Ibn Qudama and Muqtasi Rahimahullah said about what to take for Hajj. And just because we're all, let's be frank, we're all a bit pampered in life, these are a list of things you may wish to go off, which you've probably gone through already, about what to take, what not to take. Out of them, the essential components, and again, Sohail, etc., will discuss exactly what might be more useful about, especially when you're traveling during the days of Hajj. And finally, think about what not to pack, okay? Think about what not to pack. So this is actually one of the years ago. The audio doesn't work on one laptop. Just because I don't want him to miss out, I decided to put it on the second laptop, so you'll hear from one and watch from the other.
Kus jelly mau di
Why do I do this? That's having sweets are relatives, okay? The heat last year, alhamdulillah, Allah Pak's fazl, Hajj is Hajj. It was very hot last year. When I say very hot, okay, best way to summarize it, because I've said this to the boys, they were sick and tired of me. In the olden days, if you were children in India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, if it got hot, you would fight over a bucky, it was like a fan, and the kids would fight over them, give me it, it's hot, give me it. Yes? Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us the fans that we see mounted to the ceilings, so everybody would want to be in the room that has a fan. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us air conditioning, so then everybody wants to be in air conditioning, so we'll go into shops, not because we're going to buy anything, just because of what air conditioning is. Last year was so hot that forget fighting over fans, fighting over big fans, or fighting over air conditioning. People were just fighting over shade on the street to avoid the sun. Actually, if you had 1 meter square of shaded space on the road with a tree over you were a millionaire in Arafat, you would say. So just bear that in mind. Again, this year we ask Allah Ta'ala to make it easy for us. We don't know what to expect. It might be mild, but just be prepared for the heat, because it can catch up with you very quickly. So when you're packing for that, just bear that in mind, and don't pack things like Haribos that are going to turn into pretty much water by the time you get there. So moving on, the overview of aspects of Hajj. There's the fara'id, there's the things that are must. Ihram with Niyyah and Talbiyah. Again, they'll mention straight at the beginning, you'll wear that either from Masjid al-Haram or your hotel. The furu'd, the waqoof of Arafah, they'll discuss that with you. the time that you spend in Arafah, and finally the Tawaf al-Ziyarah. Then there's many actions that are wajib, I won't list them off, 1 to 8, which if you left it out, the faraid, if you left it out, you're a big risk, okay? Wajib, if you left it out, you can recover with some level of dam or penalty, but we'll discuss those later. And finally, this slide again is very good. It goes through summarizing all the steps from day 1, which is the 8th of the Hijjah, to the 9th, to the 10th, the 11th, 12th, and 13th, if you're there on the 13th, and finally your Hajj is complete. So I'm going to hand over now to Asif from here to Sohail, inshallah. Just use the roaming mic if you want to come there. Who's going to start, inshallah, from right at the beginning, 8th of the Hijjah, which is known as Yom al-Tawiyah.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم اما بعد فاعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا ان هدانا الله رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي امري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي اللهم ربي زدني علما اللهم ربي زدني علما اللهم ربي زدني علما السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. So alhamdulillah, Mufti has covered quite a lot of the spiritual and the true reason why we perform Hajj and the reason why we embark on this spiritual journey. He's just spoken about the heat generally, and that's going to be a very, very big factor in how we perform in the 5 days of Hajj. Alhamdulillah, many of you will be going there quite early, and whilst you're there, you'll be able to get a chance to acclimatize. And if you're following us in our Fala guidance group, I've been harping on for the past few weeks, telling you about the climate, the weather, adapting to, getting the body to adapt to the surroundings. It's very, very important for those who are accustomed to Saudi Arabia, those who have been for Umrah in the summer, those who are there in Ramadan. You'll understand when I talk about the heat, it is very hot. But there's very few that actually spend time in Arafat or Mashair, as we call it, the 3 sites of Hajj. And when you're talking about the Mashair areas, you're talking a totally different kettle of fish when it comes to adapting to terrain, climate, and adapting to a whole mass of people moving in one direction. So inshallah, I'll try and cover as much as I can. Now, just to gauge an idea regarding where you're all going to be, because everybody will know what happens in the 5 days of Hajj, because a lot of you have been taking part in your own seminars. Many of you have been listening to webinars, and you've been to your guide programs as well. But I'd like to get an idea. I mean, who's going to be listening about the 5 days of Hajj for the very first time, or who doesn't know anything about the 5 days of Hajj? Just put your hands up. Don't be embarrassed. They'll give me an idea. So that's fine. 2 brothers I've seen who's going to be for the first 5 days of Hajj. So I'll generally talk about the 5 days of Hajj and exactly what will be entailing in those 5 days of Hajj. But what I'll also be doing is putting the logistical aspects of everything, because I know all the hands are going to be going up right now. Who would like to know what's going to happen at what time and which coach is going to be going where, and how long it will stop, how long it will wait, how many people will be on that coach, and what time it will get there, and when the next coach will be ready? Who'd like to know about that? Be honest, go on. Yeah, pretty much everybody. Yeah. So that's the. So what I'm going to try and do is we'll talk about the 5 days of Hajj and apply the logistical aspects of it. Who's going to be traveling with Group Al-Bayt? Who's going to be traveling with Al-Raji? Who's going to be traveling with Dur? Who's going to be traveling with Itra Al-Khair? Who's going to be traveling with Abdul Jamil Latif? Nobody. And who's going to be traveling with MCDC? Okay, that's fine. So it's a mixed bag here. The point I'm trying to make here, because everybody's logistics are going to be absolutely different. Some of you are going to be there for 11 days, some of you are going to be there for 14 days, some of you are going to be there for 21 days, some of you are going to go 28 days, some of you are going to go Medina first, some of you are going to go Makkah first, some of you are going to go to Azizia, some of you are going to be performing Tamattu, some of you are going to be performing Qiran. So all these things are very, very important. Your niyyah is going to be very, very important. So taking a few steps back based on what Mufti Asmar said and what Fazal said, it's very, very important for you at this point to decide which Hajj you are going to be performing. Very, very important, because that will decide how your day will go from the 8th of Zil Hajj all the way to the last day. Okay? So it's very, very important. Majority of you will be performing Hajj Tamattu simply because you'll be going there well before Hajj. You will perform your Umrah and then you'll be residing in Makkah or Medina when you go Medina, and then come back and reside in Azizia or Makkah. Again, this depends on whether you're on a shifting package or you're on a non-shifting package. So you see, based on what I've just said in the last 5 minutes, there's so many overlaps and there's so many different variables and there's so many different things that can happen for you to be able to make a decision as to how your Hajj will progress and what you will be performing in terms of your Hajj. But we do know that the majority of you will be performing Hajj Tamattu. There are a handful that are going to be arriving into Makkah just before Hajj. So they'll actually go in Medina first, stay in Medina for a few days, then arrive into Makkah just before Hajj. So that's, you're talking around the 6th or even the morning of the 7th of Zil Hajj. You know, Hajj starts on the 8th of Zil Hajj. So on the 7th of Zil Hajj will be arriving. For those Hujjaj, I've told them so far, for them it's beneficial just to do Hajj Kiran. The reason for that is, there's no point you coming, doing Tamattu, performing Umrah, coming out of your Ihram, and then going back into Ihram for the sake of maybe 12 to 24 hours. It doesn't make any sense. Does everybody understand what I'm talking about when I'm saying this, when it comes to Tamattu and Kiran? When it's only 24 hours between you arriving and between you performing Hajj, it's better for you and it's more advantageous and it's more virtuous and rewarding for you just to perform Hajj Kiran. Okay? So, what will happen if you're going to be performing Hajj Kiran? Before you go to Yawm al-Tarwiyah, the first day of Hajj, the 8th of Zil Hajj, you will be, let me just bring on to the right slide, come on to here, yeah, we'll leave it at this for time being. So you'll be arriving just as what Fazal Muhammad said and Yasmin said, you'll be arriving into Makkah, you'll be performing your Umrah, okay? Your niyyat would have been for Hajj Kiran when you would have left Medina, or when you would have stopped. Take a step back. If you're going to be traveling with Duyuf al-Bayt, you will be traveling by train, okay? If you're going to be traveling by all of the providers, you'll be traveling by coach. There's a fundamental difference between the two. If you're going to be traveling by coach, the journey is going to be around 7 to 8 hours. If you're going to be traveling by train, the journey is going to be between 2 to 2.5 hours. Okay? So that is very, very important to understand, because again, your niyyat will depend on that as well. If you're going to be going by coach, the coach will be stopping at the closest miqat, which is Dhul Hulayfa. Okay? So at that point you'll be doing your niyyat for your ihram. Does that make sense? Does everybody understand that? Okay? However, if you're going to be going on the train, or if you've never traveled on the train during Hajj, or even when you're doing Umrah, between Medina and Makkah, within the first 5 minutes, you reach the miqat, which is Dhul Hulayfa. A lot of Hujjaj are not aware of this, especially if you're going there for the first time. Imagine you've done Umrah many years ago, a few years ago, you know you had at least an hour, hour and a half before you reached Dhul Hulayfa, and you had time to do your, come out, pray your 2 rakats and do your niyyat for Umrah. If you're going to be due for Bayt, and there are going to be, I was with the Al-Tafari seminar last week in Birmingham, and it is going to be the case with them that they will be performing Hajj Kiran, or they will be performing Umrah very early on before Hajj. So they will be leaving Medina very, very late to get to Makkah just before Hajj. So they will be stopping on they will be jumping on the train and they will be passing Dhul Hulayfa. So it's very important to make consideration of where you do your niyyat, whether it's going to be at the hotel, or as soon as you jump on the train, do your niyyat, you pray the 2 rakats at the hotel. All these little nuances are very, very important, because one, it'll be hot, you'll be under stress, and you'll have so many other people giving you their opinions. These are the things we see every single year, and this is what makes it very difficult for the judge to keep focused, because you get so many different opinions, so many different Hujjaj telling you different things, and in amongst all that, you forget your niyyah, or you're even starting to stash your suitcase on the overhead compartments, and before you know it, you've actually passed the guard. Don't worry, it's not going to be a done. We'll check with the Mufti. But you don't want to find yourself in a position where you're stressing out over, oh, I've not made my niyyah, and we've just passed my card, so what do I do? What do I do? Just be prepared beforehand. Okay? So that's the niyyah regarding whether you're in Iraq or Tamattu, and that's if you're going from Medina. Now, on the 8th of Zil-Hajj, so you know 8th of Zil-Hajj starts from Maghrib on the night before. Okay? So you will be told by your guides and your groups on the 7th of Zil-Hajj that by tonight we will be leaving to go to Mina. Okay? Now, this is where you need to give your utmost, if you're going to be giving patience and all this, where you need to be the most patient, because you might be given a time of 10 o'clock when your coach will arrive to take you to Mina. Okay? However, it's a lotting system the way it works. If you get told your coach is there, you'll go on that coach and you'll go. Each coach has 47 Hujjaj on there with your guide. Okay? And there's going to be a lot of coaches moving towards Mina. So you might get given a time of 10 o'clock, but you might actually not be leaving until 3, 4, or even 5 in the morning. Okay? So you'll be thinking to yourself at this point, what do I do now? Do I go to sleep or do I just wait? You'll be anxious. I just started, and you're going towards Mina, so there'll be all sorts of emotions there. You'll be confused to an extent because there'll be other Hujjaj saying, okay, I'm going to go to sleep, I'm going to wait for the coach. And you'll get the restless Hujjaj there as well, who'll be saying, when are we going to go, when are we going to go? Just relax, relax. Shall I tell you why we say this? Because in over 15 years of Hajj travel, we have never set foot on a coach. We've always walked. We've always done a niyyah from Masjid Haram at sunrise, and we've always walked towards Mina. Asif, myself, and all our Jamaat that do the Federal Hajj, we walk. So we know what it's like when we're standing, when we're at the hotel, we'll be sitting there having a snack, and then there's people panicking. So we spend most of our time giving tasalli and calming the Hujjaj down. What are you worried about? All you're going to do is go to Mina and get some rest, and you're going to just go to sleep. So there's no need to panic. Don't need to get worked up. Now, at the moment, I can't really paint a picture for you, so you won't know what it's like. But when you're there, I hope, inshallah, these words ring in your mind that, oh, he was right. What's the point in panicking? What's the point in saying, when will the coach come? The coach will come when he's going to come, and he'll take you to Mina. Okay, so those are the Hujjaj who are going to be jumping on the coaches. The bigger groups will have more coaches, so it'll take a little bit longer. Because remember, there's some groups over there that have 400, 500 Hujjaj. There's some groups who've got 600 Hujjaj. So if you divide 600 Hujjaj with coaches of, say, around 50, that's going to be a lot of coaches you're going to be waiting for, amongst all the other Hujjaj who are going to be there. Another thing you've got to consider as well, some of you might be in a non-shifting residence, which means you'll be in Makkah and you'll be traveling from Makkah to Mina. Then there will be some of you who will be staying on the outskirts of Makkah, whether that be Azizia, whether that be Ibrahim Khalil Road, Misballah area, wherever you might be staying, your coach will be coming there to take you to Mina. Okay? So, when you get to Mina, where will you go? You drop me off anywhere. Majority of you, 80% of the UK Hujjaj population, if not a little bit more than 80%, will be staying in an area called Moisim. Moisim, that's a European camp. We call it, our elders used to call it the European camp, and traditionally it was known as Moisim as well. We call it Moisim because it's signposted Moisim. That's how it's recognized amongst the Mina and Mashair authorities. So majority of you will be dropped off in Moisim. Some of you might be staying in if you've got some of the premium packages, in Majar al-Qabs, which is a stone's throw from Jamarat. So you'll be dropped off to Jamarat. Okay? So those are the two sites you'll be dropped off to. The distances between these sites, how to move around these sites, I'll talk about that if today. If not today, then maybe tomorrow. Hazrat Mufti will be here very shortly as well. So I'm just going to generally talk about Mina today, maybe a little bit about Arafat, and then the most important one I'd like to talk about is the 10th of Zil-Hajj, because that's where the business side of Hajj really takes place. The hectic, the stressful and the tired part of Hajj is the 10th of Zul Hajj. So maybe we could talk about the 10th of Zul Hajj tomorrow when we're all fresh, and we took a lot of information today, we absorbed quite a lot, and it's quite warm as well. So we want to make sure that we talk about the 10th of Zul Hajj with focus and concentration, so you know exactly where you'll be standing on that day. So going back to the 8th of Zul Hajj so far, does anybody have any questions so far before I move on to what's going to happen on the 8th of Zul Hajj? I think just switch your mic on as well if you want to add anything. Anything, was don't be embarrassed. I don't want you to feel, oh, I'm going to look silly if I ask that question. We want this to be interactive. We want this to be about you asking me, not me telling you what to do. If you've got questions to Sohail, what's going to happen here, or what will happen with that, I'm happy to answer that question, because otherwise you'll regret it and I should have asked it when I had the opportunity. All of you are going for Hajj. The majority of you are going for Hajj for the first time. Even after all these years, every single Hajj is an experience for us, and every single Hajj we learn something new. Alhamdulillah, based on the halat and the circumstances and the guidance of the Muftis that are usually with us, Alhamdulillah, Mufti Shafi is with us, Mufti Asmar is with us, we learn a lot and we adapt to the faith as well. So Alhamdulillah, that works to advantage. But why do we embrace that? Because we've always treated every Hajj is our first Hajj, and we're going to learn something new. So I can understand what you guys are going through: anxiety, expectation, hope, uncertainty. I know all those emotions, what goes through your mind. That's why I want you to just be open and ask any question. No question is ever a stupid question, and no question is ever too intelligent either. So if you feel you want to pick my brains on any of the aspects of the 5 days of the functional parts of Hajj, we're happy to stop, answer those questions, and move along. Is that okay? So any questions from anybody so far? You two brothers for the first time, for the first program, do you have any questions? Does everything make sense? So you understand Umrah very well, what will happen, and you understand what's going to happen before and the 7th of Zul Hajj. So, if you're going to be going by walking route, you'll meet the walking Jamaat at Masjid Haram on the morning of the 8th. At that point, the Hujjaj that are going to be traveling by coach will have already reached Mina. They'll probably be asleep, and they probably even had breakfast by now. Okay? Because they will have prayed the Fajr, possibly prayed the Fajr in Mina. They will have been resting, waiting for the rest of the Jamaat to So, Yom Tarwiyah, Mina, is a day of resting. It's a rest station. That's literally all it is. You will be doing absolutely nothing other than just pray your salah. So, if you miss Fajr on the 8th, doesn't really matter. You might pray that in Haram or you might pray there. But you will pray Zohar, Asr, Maghrib, Isha, and Fajr of the next day. Absolutely there. So those 5 salah you'll be praying there. 5 is a must that you'll be praying there. It might make it 6 if you do the Fajr of the 8th as well. That will be done on their time in Jamaat in Mina. Okay? Now, I understand a lot of Hujjaj are concerned about madhab. There's no difference. Everybody does what they want to do in the manner they want to do it, and there will be no impeding. Nobody will tell you to do it this way. This is why these lectures, these lessons are so valuable to you, because then you understand where you stand from a fiqh perspective, and you understand based on your understanding. So you will not be restricted. If somebody says to you, right, no, we're just going to pray Zohar and Asr together, if you think that's not what I normally do, then fine, that's not what you normally do, so don't do that. Okay? You will have scholars amongst yourself, and we're going to be available, inshallah, on our communication channels. Mufti Asmar will be with us as well, as well as the other scholars as well. So don't feel that you're going to be pressured in a place where, okay, I'm doing something which I'm not meant to do, or I don't want to do. It doesn't happen at all, because I make this point because we get this question when you're choosing your packages. We get asked this question all the time, that so who's going to be my scholar? Who's going to be leading us? It doesn't really matter. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to be leading you. You do what you need to do, and there'll be other referees around you to guide you. So don't feel in a position where I'm going to be stuck, because it won't be the case. So on this day, you'll be just resting and getting familiar with the surroundings, adjusting to Mina, because it's your first day in Mina, adjusting to the temperature outside and adjusting to the temperature in the camps as well. Your food will be provided there as well, breakfast, lunch, and dinner as well, so don't worry about that. And again, all you're going to be doing is ibadat, going over your adhkar, your normal daily mamulats you would do anywhere else. If your brothers in Tabligh or in Jamaat, what you would normally do in your 72 hours, you do exactly the same here as well. Your tasbihat, your tilawat, adhkar, everything that you would normally do, please do that on this day. I know it's natural for you to go and venture outside, go to another camp, go and see your friends, relatives, everybody, but focus for the very next day. It's very, very important because the next day is the very big day. So please try and focus as much as you can on the ibadat in preparation for the next day. It's a resting station, it's a charging station, it's pretty much charging station. You're going to need your power banks here, aren't you? The joke we normally have is the power supply in Mina is quite restricted. So as I always say in the communication channels, make sure you've got your power banks, make sure you've got your extension leads with the chargers and things like that, because you'll need it. And this is a point where all the Hujjaj who've been, all the fever pitch as we call it, all these weeks of preparation, all these weeks of going through lectures and getting an understanding of the days of Hajj, you'll be now in a camp, in a tent, with 20, 30, 40 other people. So sometimes emotions do get high, people get frustrated. Remember what Mufti said, you're in a state of ihram, maintain respect, maintain good relationships with everybody around you. And what Mufti Shadri said last week in Marcus Jor, that he said, and this is something we always strive for, apply yourself to khidmah. As much khidmah as you do. Attend to anybody's needs. Anybody that needs anything, a drink of water, find my slippers, can you get me my wheelchair, can you get me this, can you get me that? Please just apply yourself to khidmah, because there's two advantages there. One, it'll keep you occupied, it'll keep your mind focused, it'll give you a sense of entitlement, a sense of, not a sense of entitlement, a sense of a good feeling, and the fact that it will be a means of your acceptance as well, because otherwise you'll be taken on the Hujjaj, and very, very valuable, alhamdulillah. So, focus on ibadah, focus on your preparations for the very next day. You'll be staying in your camps, obviously, it's fully segregated. The men will be in the men camp, the females, Mr. Rod will be in the female camps as well. We've gone through with regards to all the salah and the time as well. All the rules of ihram will be applying as it was at the moment you went into your in ihram. So you'll be now getting ready to towards the evening. Most of the Hujjaj will start resting and will start making preparation for the very, very next day. So at this point, your guides will be giving you an indication as to what's going to happen the very next day. And it's going to be exactly the same. You will be told at what time the coaches will start to arrive. Normally, the coaches start around just after sunrise. Rarely on the night of Zilhaj, which is the next day, you see coaches arriving any time before that, because the time we normally start walking around just after sunrise, that's when we normally see the coaches pulling up. So you will be told the night before what time the coaches will be roughly ready. So what you want to do at this point so obviously after Maghrib, the night of Zilhaj will have started, so what you want to do is get plenty of rest. Very, very important that you get adequate rest and just recuperate anything that you need, anything that you'll be carrying with you to to Arafat. You start collecting, so whether it's your spare ihram, whether it's your snacks, whether it's your medication. Remember, you bought everything from Azizia, from Makkah, from Medina to now your accommodation in Mina. This is your tent for the next 5 days. On your spot, if you left anything there, it will be safe there. It's very secure now, and people can't just walk in and out. So if you secured your spot in Mina, you put the belongings there, inshallah they will stay there. Now, the next 24 hours is more like a camping trip. That's the way to describe it. If you were to talk about in a lay Western term, it's going to be a camping trip. So what you want to do is pack everything that you absolutely need. Our list always stops Vaseline and our electrolytes. Those are the most two valuable things to us. Without them, we can't do anything. I'm just joking. Very, very important. Make sure you've got all the medication, everything that you will actually need in Arafat. and in the night of Muzdalifah, make sure you carry it with you because you're not going to be able to come back to Mina to collect it. Okay? So the next day is the day of Arafat. And what do I say about the day of Arafat? Because just by mentioning the day of Arafat, the hair on my neck stands. It's just the most remarkable. I don't think there's enough words that can describe the beauty and the intensity of this day. There's no words for it. You can't articulate it, and the blessings and the descriptions, and when we're actually standing in Arafat, or even when you even set foot in Arafat, again, when we're walking towards Arafat, when we see the signs of Arafat, even before getting to Arafat, your eyes start welling up, and your emotions start running, and you're thinking, you know what, I'm about to approach literally on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's doorstep. That's literally how it feels when you're on your way to Arafat. And any of the brothers who have been to Hajj will vouch for me on this. Even if you've been there twice or 20 times, the day of Arafat, I don't think I could do it justice in describing the blessings of Arafat. So I will talk about the logistics of Arafat. I will talk about some of the blessings which I've learned from our elders regarding Arafat, but I will give the moment to Mufti Asmar for the day of Arafat because it's worthy of a true recognition in terms of what you will expect on that day, how to maximize that day, because essentially Arafat is the be all and the end all. Is the way I describe it. I personally with Mona Abdul Rashid Musa Asif, when we went, and he said to me, Sohail, if you don't do anything else but apply yourself on the day of Arafat, then you will have done your Hajj, inshallah. And it's your date with destiny. If you spent 20, 30, 40 years of your life, whatever you've done, whether it's money, or whether you've let somebody down, whether you've upset somebody, or you've done injustice to somebody, this is a day when it will be completely reset. Yeah? This is where your Nami Amal, your book of deeds, if the day of Arafat and these days of Hajj are observed in the manner they should be observed, it will be completely reset as if the day you were born. Imagine that. I don't think many Hujjaj fathom, or I don't think many Hujjaj really take into account or give consideration to the outcomes of the day of Arafat. It's a day when Shaitan is disgraced the most, absolutely humiliated, absolutely disgraced amongst the company of the angels, the Malaika, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then the Shaitan absolutely rinsing himself, thinking, I've made all this effort all my life on these people, and they come here, and just like that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is about to forgive them. Imagine these things. Imagine you committed the most unforgivable sin. Only you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows what you may have done, or in behind closed doors, or in seeing eyes you have committed any sin or any kind of act on this day between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He will forgive you. So it is very, very important to make the most of this day. Amongst the calendar year, when we talk about the day and night, we talk about Laylatul Qadr being the most blessed night of any night, or the greatest night of any night is Laylatul Qadr, amongst the odd nights, or certainly the 27th night. Just as we have Laylatul Qadr, you have the day of Arafat in the day. Just as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala descends onto the first heaven with the Malaika in the nights of Laylatul Qadr, just the same Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will descend onto the first heaven and ask the angels that, what are they asking that might be given? And what are these? Not even that, it'll actually be the other way around. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be telling the angels that, look at my Hujjaj, they've come to see me, they've come to meet me, they're in the ihram, and they're ready to submit themselves. So these kind of emotions, these kind of thoughts should be playing in your mind, and you should be getting ready to observe the day of Arafat as best as you can. So before I just hand it over to Mufti Asmar for a few moments, just on the practicalities of the day of Arafat. So you will most likely get there around maybe 9 o'clock, sometimes 10 o'clock, but certainly no later than 10 o'clock you'll reach Arafat. And the day of Arafat starts from Zawal, just after Zawal, at noon. So you will have 2 hours to rest and just relax and really get into into focus, tawajjuh. This is the time where you'll start, okay, noon is about to start. If if you want to freshen up, if you just want to go take a shower, if you want to do fresh ghusl, you'll be more than welcome to do that. Shower facility will be there. Literally just going into the shower, have a rinse, come straight back out, do any ibadat, morning tilawah you need to do, any adhkar you need to do, just what you would have done in the day before in Mina. Just get yourself focused, get yourself into the zone, and get yourself ready, because after that is about the day of Arafat is about to start, and it's very, very important. If you want to have something light to eat, just have something to eat. If there's anything that you really need to do before you turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the next few hours, just do that so that you could just relieve yourself of everything and just submit to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from Zawwal onwards. So I'm going to give the mic to Mufti for a few moments, inshallah, before we carry on, inshallah.
So, Alhamdulillah, Sohail has covered the day of Mina and Arafah. So the Mina, which is the tent city, everybody has a picture of white, there's lots and lots of tents. It always helps to know what went on in that place, or at least one of the things. So everybody knows the surah أَلَمْ تَرَ كَيْفَ فَعَلَ رَبُّكَ بِأَصْحَابِ الْفِيلِ أعوذ بِاللَّهِ مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ الرَّجِيمِ أَلَمْ يَجْعَلْ لَهُمْ كَيْدَهُمْ فِي تَضْلِيلٍ. So when Abraha came to knock down the Ka'batullah Sharif, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent the Ababil, according to some Mu'arrikheen, Mufassirin, ulama, that is Mina. Okay, that is Mina. That took place in Mina. That's where the army of Abraha was stopped. Moving on to Arafah. What's Arafah? Okay. That picture that you're seeing on the bottom right hand side, where literally you can look right, you see white, left, white of these people. So there's a hadith mentioned in the Musnad Imam Ahmad and other kitabs, Mishkat al-Masabi, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes when He took an oath from our souls. أخذ الله الميثاق من ظهر آدم بنعمان. This place Na'man, according to Hazrat Sheikh Maulana Muhammad Zakariyya rahmatullahi, that was Arafah. So you have returned to the place where you made an oath to Allah in the Quran. Alastu bi rabbikum. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asked you, am I not your Lord? Qalu, and we all said, Bala. That is Arafah, okay? So spiritually, if you think about it, you're going home. Let us think again. Spiritually, you're actually going home. Now, if you read the books of the scholars, they build on this principle the whole life, where life's about returning home. Life is about wanting to go to the Akhirat, wanting to go to Allah Ta'ala, going back to the angels, going back to that environment. Vishnu was named Chunhika Yirne Az Judai Hashika Yirne Gunad. This Persian, Al-Amaruni Rahmanullah, the first poem of the great Masjid, he describes this, where he talks about the bamboo stick when it's separated from its flock, and when somebody blows into the bamboo, he goes, it makes a sound of pain, because there was one day where I was with all the other souls, there was no infighting, there was no nafs to deal with, there was no responsibilities, there was no, Allah Mafkari, destroying the rights of parents, not taking care of children, chasing halal haram. This was all not an issue. I was in that pious environment. So that's where returning to Arafat. Point number one. Point number two, when Adam was made, everybody knows in the Quran, the angels objected to our creation. Yes? They said, look at Shwebai, Didat, Shwebai is a good guy, look at Asmar. Ya Allah, look at Asmar, yeah. Says one thing, does another thing. Look at him in his spare time, look at the thoughts. These are not highest creation. But the day of Arafah, when you have literally boxed off everything, given up everything, dragged yourself through the mud, okay? Al-Hajj, Al-Sha'id, Al-Kafil. Your hair's all over the place, you don't get two hooks about whether your ihram is clean or not. By that stage, I'm hoping you're given no notes. Maybe at the beginning you get a bit, I've got a bit of dirt in my ihram. By that stage, you don't get two hooks. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He sees you, He summons the angels. He goes, Inna Allah yubahi malaikatahu. And you know what? What does he do? He says to the angels, فَيَقُولُ, and he says to them, انظر إلى عبادي. Now look at Sohail. Now look at Asif. He boasts to the angels to say, you know what? This is humanity showing what it's capable of, even surpassing the angels. So it's already mentioned, خَيْرُ الدُّعَاءِ دُعَاءِ يَوْمِ عَرَفَةٍ. The best of du'as is mentioned by Imam Tirmizi. Dua Yawmi Arafah is the dua that you make on the day of Arafah. Okay? With some etiquettes, look, we're all human beings, we can't go at it. Well, some of us, I mentioned that brother that can cry praise in front of the Kaaba. Most of us need a little bit of a break. But don't waste your time with the break, yeah? Go outside, to stand in Makuk is better. When you get tired, go back inside, take a rest, okay? Maybe mix it up a little bit, use your time wisely. At-ta'jeel al-Wukuf is from the Sunnahs. The minute Zawal hits, Zohar Salah hits, okay? You pray your Zohar Salah. That is the time that you don't mess around. And unfortunately, because we are Brits, okay? Like should I say, you're British, you're Scottish, okay? We've grown with habits that don't allow us to engage in spiritual environments. That's the reality of it, okay? 2 years ago, Sohail mentioned where I mentioned this. We got. I don't want to say we got lost in Arafah. Alhamdulillah, we don't get lost in Arafah. We may just visit the neighbors on the other side of Arafah occasionally, and it's more bit bonkers. Literally, so we couldn't navigate. It was blistering heat. We're talking Zawal time. So we just all went to the nearest tent, and we ended up in a Bangladeshi tent. Very poor, okay? Didn't really have much space. The air conditioning wasn't working properly, okay? One thing I noticed the quality in the people, because they come from poor backgrounds, okay? They're not paid a lot. They're not Brits, okay? The minute Zohar Salah was finished, okay, you could hear half the tent crying. It's like they were all geared up for that environment. Fast forward next year to camp. What's the camp called again? For Moisen? What's the camp number? 24, 26, 38, yeah. You go there after Zohar, yeah. You know what? Let's go and have a little bit of buffet. Let's go and get some ice cream. Okay? That you see the difference, okay? Now what is I'm relying on you because there's not a lot, alhamdulillah, there's enough people here. But when you go there, okay, you pass that on to your Hajji, okay? Because you'll see people, and it's not their fault, it's just not knowing better, okay? So look, this is not the time to waste and chit chat, okay? And please take advantage of it. Finally, before I pass it back to, we could go on and on to be honest, just, reading about the Mashayikh and how the elders were at the time of Arafah. Mutarraf ibn Abdullah, again, you don't have time to go to these biographies. These were Rijal, these were people, yeah, Rahimahullah. He would just hold up his hands in Arafah and he would say, Ya Allah, don't not accept the du'as of everybody min ajli because I'm here. I mean, don't not accept because of me. Don't deprive these people. Yeah. Fudail ibn Iyad, the great Sufi, rahimahullah, okay, he would say, إن كنت تظن أنه شهد الموقف أحد شر مني. Okay, that if you think for 1 second, okay, that somebody turned up to Arafah that was worse than me, okay, for base Samadharant, that's the worst thing you could have thought of. I am the most needy person on the day of Arafah. Remember that. I am the most needy person on the day of Arafah. See, when you have that in your mindset, okay, you forget about everything. Automatically, you start looking for things to do. You start managing your time properly. And as what Sohail said, okay, if you're getting tired of everything else, just do khidmah. Okay? Just go around, hand out water bottles. Genuinely, okay? You know what? You get a dua for somebody, even by mistake, you get a dua, you don't realize that it's the time of Arafah will be accepted, okay? Give your bed up to some brothers that don't need it. That's a discussion for another day. So hopefully that summarizes the day of Arafah from a spiritual point of view. I'm going to throw it back to Sohail now so he can get on to what do we do when the day of Arafah comes. To the end, there's steps and steps about namaz, the order of the prayers. I think Yeah, so there'll be in your groups because there'll be some people that will join pairs and the other people that won't. Okay? Just do what you used to, alright? Whichever alim you follow, okay? If you want to join the pairs or not. The strict Hanafi, the proper position is to read Salah in its proper time, okay? But if you don't do that, because there are Hanafi scholars that go the other way, it's fine. There's no really need to, sit there and discuss it. It's not a time for long bayans, Arafat, these maqam or not. Yes, fine, you pull people together, 10, 15 minutes at a leave, okay? Perhaps you might want to make a dua, but it's few time. Just to him.
So, brothers, you might think, these brothers are talking and very serious. We've all got serious faces looking around, but we're a bunch of clowns, I'll be honest with you. And the things we get up to even on the way to Arafat, and just because we know that we've done so much that we'll go there and ask for forgiveness when we get there. But Mufti Shafir, often when we go see him before Hajj, he'll probably just smack me around the head and he'll say, behave yourself, inshallah. We will do. And the one thing he said, and he says in his programs as well, at the very least, if you don't do anything, just don't give anybody taklif. That's all he says. If you don't do anything at all, just make sure you're not giving any taklif to anybody else. Speaking of taklif, in 2022, what Mufti just said was we had to find our camp, and it was very, very hot, extremely hot, so hot that our navigation devices stopped working, our phones stopped working. You'll see messages on the phone that you've never seen before. It'll say the phone's overheated, switch off. So we had to then navigate blindly. Alhamdulillah, we're very familiar with Arafat, but the point we're making here is, it is so hot. Mama sitting at the back over here, he was with his ahliya, and he will tell you how hot that day was. And after 30 years of walking Hajj he has done, he said, well, I've never known it to be this hot. It was that hot. So we had to stop in a Bangladeshi camp. We were nowhere near UK or European camps. We were somewhere on the other side of the furthest you could possibly go in Arafat. We ended up there. And we thought, okay, we've been walking for 5 hours. Okay, from sunrise, we're walking for 5 hours, so we just need to stop. We kept walking, but the brothers behind us, they could no longer carry on. So we had to stop. It was very important that we did. So Mufti Sahib took lead, he detached and said, so let me go find a camp. So he went to find a camp and we managed to walk into a Bangladeshi camp. We walked towards it, and when I got there, Mufti Sahib standing outside shaking his head, so there's absolutely no chance. They're not very happy with it at all. I said, why? So we should be here. So they were so protective of the space. Okay? You know what I said before? They'll be very protective of the space. There'll be high emotion. So when you've got a bunch of 10 Bolton lads walking into your camp, laughing and joking, you're not going to like it because they were all getting into the zone. So Mufti Sahib said, sir, I was, for that Jamaat, I was the Amir. So Mufti Sahib said, sir, you need to go and have a chat with their Amir, and he's over there. So I went and spoke to him and said, we need to be here for about 10-15 minutes and we're going to move. All we need is a drink of water, freshen up, and we'll move. So he just nodded his head. So it was just acceptance but not approval. Okay? Acceptance but not approval. So now the that's why I said he was right. Mama was there. He was with his wife, so he had to stay at the back at the camp. He had his own problems because his wife didn't want to stay with the Bangladeshi camp. But that's another story. So, what happened was, we said, how can we possibly win these brothers over? So we sat down and said, you know what, they need food. And it's very hot. The camp, Bangladeshi camp, they have air conditioning like what we have in the European camp. It's very, very hot in there. So we said, okay, what can we possibly do? The only thing we could possibly do, what we wouldn't do is khidmah. So I ran outside and just bought loads of ice cream. So all I did for about an hour was back and forth. So I told all the brothers, you know, just go to sleep, leave this to me. Back and forth, ice cream. That's all we did, just fed them ice cream. An hour, most of our satis, they were all completely flat out, asleep. I said to Asif, slowly start waking them up now, let's start moving now. We've had enough rest. It's going to be 1 o'clock, we need to get to the European camps, let's just do that. So I went to the Amir and said, do forgive us, we probably stayed a little bit longer than we would have liked. He started crying. He grabbed me by my neck and he gave me the biggest hug and said, we don't want you to go anywhere, please stay here. Please stay here. because while shooting here, the barakat we've had, we've not seen before. This is just an example I'm giving you of the nizam and the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the day of Arafat, because our niyyat was what we did, how we ended up, and we were about to walk out and all we could hear was wails. Wails everywhere across their camp, just crying away, crying away. And all we ask for is that inshallah one of them will make a dua and we'll be included in that dua. And there'll be one person in our camp who will make dua for us and will be accepted on this day of Arafat. And if that dua, that moment, that minute, we've been accepted, then that's our day of Arafat done. So the point that we're trying to make here is just do whatever it takes just to make the most of that day. Control your nafs as best as you can. Control your temper, control your anger and frustration that you may have. Just completely suppress it for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you will see the benefits you will reap from that day. So, extremely hot.
Just on that note, when we left that Bangladeshi tent, they were actually taking out the mattresses from the ladies and giving them to us. So going from the beginning to the end, we just looked, subhanAllah, the power of Hikmah, they were on Muhammad. They actually were giving us mattresses for the ladies' end. Alhamdulillah.
Again, Mufti Shafisa was saying that last week as well, that to gain acceptance of Hajj, just do it by feeding them. That's metaphorical. Feeding means do any kind of treatment possible for them. You don't have to sit there and massage their feet. Even in Hajj, even massaging somebody's feet, it's an absolute blessing for them and an absolute blessing for you as well, because they'll be so tired. Walking distances I'm not talking about. So Mina to Arafat, it's roughly 7 miles and it takes about 3 hours. Okay? Haram to Mina. So Haram to Mina is roughly 6 to 7 miles and it takes 3 hours. Mina to Arafat is only advised if you're familiar with walking and also that you can walk long distances, especially if you're performing your first Hajj. What you don't want is to jeopardize the ibadah. That's more important. It takes anywhere between 4 to 5 hours to get to Arafat from Mina. And we leave at sunrise, so we want to try and get there, because remember that the heat starts at around 9 o'clock. After 10 o'clock, it's unbearable heat. So you have to be very careful. So if anybody goes as a niyyat or made an irada that we'll be doing Behlul Hajj, we'll be walking, it's fine, but do make these considerations as well. So just as Mufti Sahib has alluded to, spending as much time in the ibadah, as soon as the clock strikes 12, sometimes you may hear a cannon. Remember, the day of Arafat is a very eerie day, very quiet. Everybody will be in their own nafsi to do their ibadah and do the du'as. So come Zawal time, if your Jamaat decides they want to pray Zohar, just pray Zohar at its time. When it's time for Asr, pray Asr at its time. You don't need to combine the two. We don't combine the two. We pray separately as we do. And just get yourself mashghool in the ibadah. Simple as that. As much dua as you can. Go outside, do some dua. If you forget, go back inside. Have a rest, go back inside. Just pour yourself out. Try anything you can possibly do to make yourself cry. Get somebody to just give you a hard time so that you can cry, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will like those tears. Make the most of it. Okay, so lunchtime will come, you'll get your food on its time. What I would advise, eating very, very light. Come 3 o'clock, 3, 4 o'clock, alhamdulillah, the heat does subside a little bit, and if you're fortunate, if there's quite a cloud covering, the heat definitely does reduce, and we noticed that in the last 2 years that after 3 o'clock it's a lot calmer. So you could do Istima Idwa, Istima Ibadah, you come out and do a little bit more Ibadah whilst it's cooler, but then you want to try and get it to increase when it comes to Asr and Maghrib time. Absolutely, really, the final push will be Asr and Maghrib. Do as much Ibadah as you can, as much Dua as you can, and then come Maghrib time, the day of Arafat will end. So at this point, just as you did the day before, on the morning of Arafat, the coaches will be start gathering. A lot of Hujjaj will be trying their best to get on the first coach, so they can get to Muzdalifah as quick as they can. They'll be pushing and shoving. I don't like to see this. I don't like to talk about it either, because alhamdulillah, we're a positive group of lads. We like to keep it positive. We don't like anybody talking negative. But unfortunately, you see that. You see Hujjaj getting a bit impatient. They spend the day of Arafat Ibadah. They want to just get to Muzdalifah as quick as they can. Relax. If your coach has been allocated at, say, 8 o'clock, it might not be ready until 9, 10 o'clock. What do you want to do? Just rest. You're going to be resting in Muzdalifah anyway. You don't need to pray Maghrib. Maghrib is going to be done in Muzdalifah anyway. So what you want to do is either freshen up. If you need to go to Istijab, you need to use the bathroom. This is the best time because the facilities when you get to Muzdalifah are very, very restricted. The facilities in Arafat are very decent. So utilize those. Get your stuff together and get ready for your coach to get to Muzdalifah. It could be any time from 8, 9 o'clock, anything up to 2, 3 in the morning. When we're walking towards Muzdalifah, when we reach there, coaches are still arriving. So again, patience is very, very important. Collect yourself, recuperate, and don't rush to get to Muzdalifah. When you get to Muzdalifah, they will camp you in a certain area. Remember what I said. So because what we'll Arafat is more or less and we're going to come to Muzdalifah. So inshallah what we'll do, tomorrow we'll continue with Muzdalifah and the 10th of Dhul Hijjah is very, very important. Akim, I think Mufti is here now, so inshallah we'll keep on. We'll start.
Any questions? Minat Muzdalifah,
Minat Muzdalifah, it's
9.7 kilometers.
9 miles.
Walking
takes 4 to 5 hours.
4 to 5. If you get lost then 5 hours. If you get there 4 hours.
The Mufti is here now, so we'll stop, otherwise the next time.
The hardest part of the walk is that part. नहीं आपके लिए
एक चीज बाकी हेलो मैं तो क्या करूँगा बस आप लोग माशाल्लाह इसके माहिर हैं हाँ बस देखो आप लोगों ने प्रोग्राम करके किसी को सही बात है वो सही और किताब नहीं आते अच्छा तब लाए ढूंढिए हाँ ये मस्तूरात के लिए बहुत अच्छी है मालूम है ना अपना ऐसा नहीं कोयली वाले में थी हाँ बहुत अच्छी है कल मैंने देखा उसको औरतों में तकसीम करो नहीं करना टीका के लिए अच्छा माशाल्लाह रेस किया है So how many ladies are 30, 40? 24. और उसमें पांचवी चीज समझो पांचवी चीज समझो चौथी चीज समझो तो हज है पहले तो अल्लाह तबारक व तआला का शुक्र अदा करना चाहिए अल्लाह तबारक व तआला ने इंतजाम किया और हम लोग हज को जा रहे हैं बहुत बड़ी नेमत लेकिन हज में जाने से पहले बहुत से उमूर है इसमें सबसे अहम ज़िहब का हक अदा करके जाना उर्दू समझते हैं अगर किसी में किसी का कर्ज है तो उसका कर्ज अदा करो अगर बिल्कुल आप नहीं कर सकते तो उसके बाद जाकर मौलत मांगो इंशाल्लाह आई गिव यू इन 1 year टाइम 2 year टाइम और कोई भी हक रिश्तेदारों का इंडिया में जमीन का उसको सुलझा कर जाओ ऐसा ना हो कि हम जाए तो हमारे सर पर किसी का हक इसलिए बहुत सी अहादीस है अल्लाह अपना हक को माफ कर देंगे लेकिन बंदों का हक माफ नहीं हो सकता वो अल्लाह ताला बदला देकर रहेंगे इसलिए वो तो किसी और का हक है तो पहली बात हमें जो बहुत एहतमाम से करनी है वो ये और आपको मालूम लोग हज में जाते हैं, कसरत से जाते हैं। पहले हमारे बाप दादा जब हज में जाते थे तो पूरे गांव में एक एक को मिलकर जाते और ये समझते थे कि शायद मैं वापस नहीं आऊंगा। इसलिए पहली बात इसका एहतमाम है। अगर मस्तूरा का मन ऊपर करे, इसका एहतमाम है। किसी का दिल दुखाया हो उसे जाकर माफी मांग लो। माफी मांगने से आदमी छोटा नहीं होता, उसका दर्जा बढ़ता है। उससे माफी मांगो। रिश्तेदार है, उससे कुछ गड़बड़ हो गई थी, उससे माफी मांगो। और अगर किसी ने हम पर ज्यादती की तो ये सोचो कि मैं अल्लाह के अहकामात को इससे बहुत ज्यादा तोड़ता हूं, मैं इसको माफ करूंगा तो अल्लाह मुझे माफ करेगा। इसलिए सबको माफ करके जाओ और सबसे माफी मांग करें, ये पहली चीज है। और नंबर 2, अभी से तैयारी शुरू करें। हमारे पूरी जमात वाले के जाने से पहले हम हज की तैयारी शुरू करें। हज की किताबें माशाल्लाह और तो जल्दी जल्दी प्रोग्राम होते हैं, इसका एहतमाम। और नंबर 3, मेरी वजह से हज में किसी को तकलीफ न पहुंचे, ये बहुत जरूरी है। हमने बहुत दफा देखा है कोई नहीं रह जाता, लेकिन पहले जाकर हम कोच में बैठ जाएंगे, इसका ख्याल नहीं रखेंगे कि हमारे साथ बूढ़े हैं, हमारे साथ औरतें हैं, हमारे साथ कमजोर हैं, उनको आगे भेजना चाहिए, हम पीछे जाकर भेज जाए। इसका भी एहतमाम हो कि हमारी वजह से किसी को तकलीफ न पहुंचे। और मैं हमेशा अरफा के मैदान में दुआ करता हूँ। लोग कौन सी दुआ करते, मैं दुआ ये करता हूँ कि अल्लाह ऐसा न हो कि मेरी वजह से तुम दूसरों का हज कबूल न करे, मेरी वजह से दूसरों का हज तुम कबूल न करे। और अल्लाह मैं चाहता हूँ कि जिस बंदे का तुमने हज कबूल किया उसकी बरकत से तो हमारा हज भी कबूल करे। और आप वहां देखेंगे ऐसे लोग आते हैं, ऐसे बुरे मासूम खड़े खड़े अरबा के मैदान में घंटों धूप में और अल्लाह से दुआ रो रहे। मैंने औरतों को देखा ही रोते हुए, तो इसका बड़ा एहतमाम। और एक दूसरी बात यह है कि अरफा के मैदान में, अरफा का मैदान मेन है। देखिए हुजूर अलैहिस्सलाम जब अरफा में पहुंचे, शुरू वक्त में आपने जोर की और असर शाम पढ़ा दी, मुख्तसर खुतबा दिया, मुख्तसर। और उसके बाद लंबा दुआ अस्कार कब तक, गुरूब तक, गुरूब के बाद तक। इसलिए मैदान अराफात तकरीर की जगह नहीं है। कब मौलाना साहब को और मुफ्ती साहब को ये कहे जोर के बाद आपकी तकरीर होगी और असर के बाद आपकी तकरीर होगी और गुरु से 5 मिनट पहले बस जो है इज्तिमाई दुआ हो गई। अपनी अपनी दुआएं करो, अपने दिल से मांगो अल्लाह से, और सिर्फ अपने लिए नहीं। और अब तो मेरे दोस्तों में आपको क्या बताऊं, अपने बच्चों के लिए हमारी नस्लें तबाह हो रही है। इर्तिदाद का फितना, पता नहीं कौन से फितने। तो अल्लाह से ये दुआ करो, अल्लाह क़यामत तक मेरी नस्ल में या अपनी ईमान बाकी रहे, सिर्फ मेरी नहीं पूरी उम्मत के मुस्लिम। और इस वक्त के हालात हमारे सामने हैं, तो इसका बड़ा एहतमाम करो। और आपको मालूम है हदीस को मशहूर है, वलैसा लिल-हज्जिल मबरूर जज़ाउन इल्ला जन्नह। हज मबरूर का बदला जन्नत है। हज मबरूर किसे कहते हैं? एक रिवायत में हुजूर सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम ने फरमाया, आपसे पूछा कि हज मबरूर क्या है? क्या फरमाया? इतामुत ताआम व इशाउस सलाम, लोगों को खाना खिलाना और सलामती फैलाना। ये 2 अमल ऐसे हैं कि अगर तुम इसका एहतमाम करोगे तुम्हारा किसी से झगड़ा नहीं होगा, और इसी को हज मबरूर कहा गया। अल्लाह ताला हम सबको, आप हजरात को, हर हाजी को हज मबरूर नसीब करे। और हज मबरूर की अलामत ये है कि जिस हालत में आप गए वापस आकर आपकी दीनी हालत अच्छी हो जाए तो समझो कि आपका हज मकबूल है। अगर खुदा ने खास्ता जाने से पहले फजर जमा से नहीं पढ़ते थे, एहतिमाम नहीं था, आने के बाद एहतिमाम हो गया, समझो कि आपका हज अल्लाह किया मकबूल है। तो इसका जरा एहतिमाम करें। सबको हज मकबूल नसीब फरमाए और इस वक्त आलम में मुसलमानों के हालात है उसके लिए बहुत से अदर दुआ करें बहुत से अल्लाह किसी हाजी की सुन ले तो दुनिया में अल्लाह ताला अमन और अमान नाज़िल फरमाए आखिर दावा अल्हम्दुलिल्लाहि रब्बिल आलमीन किसी को इस बात में दी है और लोग दिया से
So we've got 10-15 minutes if anybody wants to ask if you have any questions. So we don't have to answer them. And all the points we have made to save time. Alhamdulillah, we've covered 80% of them. The 20% that we missed out, I'll include them tomorrow, inshallah. So over to you guys.
कल भी प्रोग्राम यहाँ किसी को कुछ पूछना है any questions?
मुझे बारिश का मसला है मुझे पता है खांसी का या वो आपको बाद नहीं आपने हराम की हालत में बाद नहीं आपका करना चाहिए ज़्यादा देर तक काम नहीं करना तो वो कह रहा था मुझे मसला है बारिश का बेसिकली होती है जब मैं छोड़ने लगता हूँ उसका जो खून पता नहीं लगता है जो भी है उसका कोई मैं कोशिश तो करूँगा अगर ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा कंट्रोल करूँ लेकिन अगर खारिश थोड़ी बहुत काम है तो उसका
कोई बात नहीं अगर आपको ऐसा है एक मिनट मैं बताता हूँ अगर आपको यह खतरा है कि कुछ बाल निकले शक न करें आपने देखा बाल निकले हैं तो सदका कर दे बस सदका 2-4 पाउंड सदका दम नहीं है आप फिक्र न करें समझ गए ना दम नहीं है बस आप सदका कर दें गरीब को वहाँ के हरम के गरीब को आप दे दें ठीक है और अगर आपको मालूम है तो आपके ग्रुप के जो मेन है आलिम उनको क्या कहिए ये जो जहाँ मुस्ताहिक हो उनको ये मेरी तरफ से 20,000 दे दें बस इसमें दम नहीं आप घबराइए हाँ छतरी दे सकते सीओ किया जाए इसलिए वो खुली बस में घूमते हैं हमारे यहाँ No, you speak in English, I know English. so good in English.
What if we do something that's against, well, that's around the state of Ihram, but we don't know that we've done it? What's the situation for that? Do we give them? This is that.
No, but the thing is here, you ask someone if this has been done, and then tell you what you've done. But to not know is not a valid reason in Sharia. You must learn. But don't worry, there's nothing hard, don't worry. Right? If something has happened, ask the alim is with you, and inshallah, it might be only sadaqah. It might be not done. So don't worry.
माशाल्लाह 2-3 मिनट में आप हजरत ने हमें बता दिया कि क्या क्या करना चाहिए लेकिन फिर भी हम जो नए लोग हैं वो गए हुए 2-3 दफ़ा हज की हुआ हमको तो एक्सपीरियंस है जो नए लोग होते हैं उसको बड़ी फिक्र लाहक होती है कि यार कोई चीज़ छूट ना जाए आपने हमें बता दिया माशाल्लाह लेकिन फिर भी एक बार बता लें ताकि थोड़ा सा जो खासकर दुआएं हैं और मतलब कोई ऐसी गलती ना हो जाए कि मतलब
लेकिन दुआओं की एक वो बड़ी मुआज़ ने लिखी है वो है थोड़ी सी वो आपको दे देंगे बड़ी मुआज़ वाली और देखो दुआ जो है ना दुआ ये करना नहीं है मांगना है नमाज क्या है पढ़ना नमाज पढ़ना दुआ मांगना जो अल्लाह आपके दिल में है दिल से मांगना और बाकी जो दुआएं हदीसों में है अगर उसको याद हो जाए सुभान अल्लाह हिज़्बुल आज़म है आपके पास है हिज़्बुल आज़म तो उसको पढ़िए मैदान अरफा में ये आपको देंगे जो दुआएं हैं और अरफा के मैदान में ला इलाहा इल्लल्लाह वहदहु ला शरीका ला अफ़ज़लु मा क़ाल जो सबसे बेहतर चीज़ जो मुझसे पहले तमाम दुनिया में बड़ी है वो चौथा कलमा ला इलाहा इल्लल्लाह वहदहु ला शरीका ला फिर हम कितने गुनहगार हैं कोई समस्या नहीं कोई चीज़ मुश्किल नहीं आप ये ना समझ एवरीथिंग इज ईजी दीन युस्र दीन में आसानी है बाकी चूँकि पहली दफ़ा जाता है तो आदमी को पता नहीं होता तो जो पहले से गए उनके साथ दोस्ती कीजिए आप उनके साथ हरम जाइए और वो जिस तरह करे आप कीजिए, एक दो दवा आप देख लेंगे फिर मसला नहीं, समझ गए?
वो आपके बैक में दुआ की किताब है, अभी आपको मिलेगा।
वो दुआएं सब हदीस से है, उसको एहतमाम कीजिए, इसको पढ़िए। और मैंने कहा ना, इससे ज़्यादा ज़रूरी है कि आपके दिल में अपने जो डाले वो मिले। Anybody wants to ask question? Ini betul sabo kan dia mana? Ada bo ગુજરાતીમાં કે બહુ ઊંડાણમાં નહીં ભરવાનું, સમજી ગયા? ખબર પડી કે આ બે ચાર ભાગ નીકળ્યા તો સરખો કરવાનો. આપણે જાણી જોઈને જો નથી કરતા ને.
रस करी दिल्ली से मारी बताइए, हमारा फादर ने रस पड़ा जो हमारे
તમારા ફાધર પર હક ફરજ હતી?
हाँ
કન્યા કઈ એ તમે તમારા પૈસાથી કરો. તમે ક્યારે જવાનું, કે તારીખે? 8 जून. कब है यहाँ में आ रहा था बिना? आप बदीने जाएंगे पहले?
मक्का में
अभी जाएंगे. कहीं नहीं, તમે તમત્તુ કરો, કઈ વાંધો નથી. કેમ કે તમે ઇફરાત જો કરી શકો તો કરો, એટલે હજનો એહરામ બાંધીને જાઓ. હવે તમને એહરામમાં રહેવું પડે. It might be a bit difficult.